All right, go ahead, Danny.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Spoken Truth. I got my name is Danny,
I'm Chaz.
And I'm Tunde.
and today we're going to be going around the association, talking about a lot of different hot topics going on in the NBA right now. Um, just some things that's up and coming, and obviously All Star games coming up soon, and just some stuff that's happening this past week, and some stuff that's coming up right now. But we want to begin. Just not too long ago, the NBA revealed the reserves for the All Star game, the East and the West. So we want to start with the East, and we want to tell you guys who made the team from the East, and then we will head over to the West, and we're going to talk about our snubs, who we believe had a good case to make the team, and we'll go from there. Tunde, you want to start with naming the Eastern Conference individuals that made the team for reserves?
Yeah, sure. So we have Julius Randle, Drew Holiday, Tyrese Halliburton, Joel Embiid, DeMar DeRozan, Jalen Brown, and Bam Adebayo.
So those are the East snubs. Tunde, do you want to start? Do you have any problems with anyone that made that reserve team there?
Oh yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, the East is just kind of jumbled as it is with a lot of talent. But my team would have looked a little different.
Mhm.
I would take Julius Randle off of here, and I would have taken Julius Randle off for Pascal Siakam. I
Mhm.
would have taken DeMar DeRozan off this list. I don't understand what makes DeMar DeRozan a better All-Star game candidate than Trae Young. Assuming he got it as a guard, which I believe he did. I don't really see him as being a better candidate than Darius Garland either, um, or James Harden. Especially James Harden. That's where I would have gone with the spot. Uh,
Do you think James Harden deserved to be a reserve?
I do think James Harden deserved to be a reserve. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if James Harden would have been on my list, but I think he was at least in the conversation. Somebody else that I thought really was actually going to earn a spot was Jalen Brunson. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. That was going to be the name that I.
I mean, whether that be taking off Julius Randle, his own teammate, or DeMar DeRozan, I think either one of those spots, it probably should have gone to Brunson with the season that he's had in his first year with the Knicks. Danny, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think Brunson definitely deserved. I don't think we're going on a limb that he's the best player on the Knicks. I don't think anyone here disagrees with that. Um, so I definitely feel like he deserved that spot. Now, I'm not going to knock Julius Randle because he's having a good season, but I do think that Brunson deserved that reserve spot. And I'm not totally disagreeing with you, Tunde, when I say James Harden. I just think that maybe there was a more valuable candidate that deserved it a little more than him. But I'm not upset that you would put James Harden on that list. So if you're putting Harden on that list, I'm curious of who and you said Garland as well. And I do think that Garland and Mitchell both should be on this team. But I'm curious if if you're putting Harden in, who are you taking out? Who will be that first person you're taking out?
I would have taken DeMar DeRozan out for
DeMar
James.
DeRozan first. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have taken DeMar DeRozan out for James Harden, and I would have taken um, Julius Randle out for Pascal Siakam.
Okay. Chaz, are you fine with this list? I know we both believe that Jalen Brunson should be on it instead of Julius Randle, but other than that, is there any kind of objections you have with this list?
No, I'm not mad at it in general. I mean, I think they got Joel Embiid, obviously a lock, as well as somebody like Jalen Brown, who I feel like absolutely had to be on that list. I did find it kind of curious that they stayed away from giving any teams besides the Celtics and the Bucks two players. I mean, like Tunde, like you said, James Harden very well could have been with Embiid.
Mhm.
We're saying Jalen Brunson could have been there with Randall. Darius Garland could have been there with Mitchell. They decided not to double up on a lot of those guys, um, besides the top two teams in the conference. And then it seems like they kind of split the difference with the rest of the guys. Obviously, you kind of call it throwing a bone to a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who's been there a number of times. Tunde, you mentioned, that he was a starter last season. So, I mean, I'm not really, I don't really have that many gripes with it. We'll see who ends up in the game because usually there's a guy or two that can't go. So
Mhm.
probably one of these guys that we're discussing will end up in that game. So let's say somebody like Tyrese Halliburton can't play, or depending on Kevin Durant's status, let's say one of them two can't play. Who's the first guy that you guys are going to substitute them?
I don't think Durant's playing in the game.
So that's at least one of these guys that
Yeah,
should, and then maybe Halliburton as well.
yeah. I confident saying that I don't think Kevin Durant's playing. Um,
Yeah, I don't think he should, but they were talking about him coming back before the break. So I don't know if he would play a couple games before the break and then skip the All-Star game. I mean, I don't think he should play in the game if
well, even if he play in a game, I don't think it'd be very long. If he,
yeah,
just give the fans,
yeah,
what they want. They want the star, so maybe he'll play a couple of minutes.
yeah.
But if that is the case, I can see that happening. But I personally, if I'm management of Brooklyn, I'm not playing Durant. And if I'm playing him, I'm only playing him, kind of for one set, not very long. It's
Yeah.
the fans voting the man, so give the fans what they want. But other than that, I'm sitting them. I don't know if you both agree with that, but
Yeah, if I was him, I'd probably skip the game in
yeah,
general, just to be safe at this point in his career. But
yeah.
I will say before we move on to the Western Conference, we should probably just touch on the starters real quick since I
Well,
don't
I
think.
was I was going to ask you guys because I
Yeah,
was going to ask you guys to jog my memory. Did we go over the starters? I don't think
no,
we.
because
I think
yeah,
we gave our opinions on who we
yeah,
think should start, but I don't think we actually went over who made the team. I don't think we did a show since then.
no, we
No,
Uh,
have.
we haven't.
And obviously
okay.
that is also another team with two players. Obviously, the Nets have two starters with Kyrie and Kevin Durant getting that. And then the other starters being Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell.
I think my problem with that list is I think Embiid should start.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem with the starters. Other than I'm not going to make too much of Kyrie starting. It's a fans thing. They want to see Kyrie. He's an amazing player. So I'm not going to fuss about that. But I do think that Joel Embiid should be starting. Now the problem is, who are you taking out? Are you taking out Tatum, who's you could say he's a league MVP candidate, what up there with Joker? Are you taking out Kevin Durant, who's, yeah, I mean, who
I know
Giannis? I mean,
it's it's really an
he's an
impossible
MVP
question.
candidate. Like, who are you taking out?
Yeah.
That's the question that I will pose to you guys. That even if you agree with the list of those three, um, who would you know? Even if you had to say you had to take one of those players out and put Joel Embiid in, who are you taking out from that list?
Last time
I
we talked,
think.
go ahead,
Oh,
Tuna.
sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Chess.
Well, I was just going to say last time I said Tatum, but I think at this point right now I would say Kevin Durant. I mean, I think all four guys, obviously competing for those three spots, were playing at an MVP level. When they were on the court, Kevin Durant hasn't been on the court more than the other three. And Embiid is somebody who's leading the league in scoring. I think he should be top three in the MVP conversation right now, and he's not even starting in the All-Star game. Like, I
Mhm.
get it because of the positioning and stuff. Like that's how it works sometimes. But it seems like Embiid is just the guy that kind of always ends up on the outside looking in, which I don't know, for a player of his caliber, like it would kind of get under my skin too. I think he deserves to be there.
I mean, you could make a case he's leading the race for MVP.
I think you could too. Yeah.
Yeah, Tunde.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take my answer in a slightly different direction here. I think it should just be the best five players in each conference.
Mhm.
And I think whatever position they play is whatever position they play, but that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think
Uh,
so
so
too.
for so for me, Kyrie Irving would be coming out of the lineup, and it would just be Mitchell, Embiid, Giannis, KD, and Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't get why that's not allowed. Like, imagine that team on the court together, and it still makes sense. Like, you could put Tatum and KD obviously on the wings, And it's a bigger lineup than normal, but those guys would have no trouble playing with each other. Like I think the NBA needs to get over this whole position thing.
Because it's positionless.
Yeah.
When it comes down to how they play in reality, how they play on the court is positionless. Everyone's playing stretch fives. There's very little traditional fives left in the league. So I just think they need to do away with the positions and just pick the 5 to 10 best players and have them play ball. I think that's
Yeah.
what they should do. Well, they do and no, but I guess we'll see.
I think they might someday.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see if the fans want it enough. I think they'll change it, but I think that's something that should have been changed a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily upset with the East. I mean, yeah, I would like to see Embiid in there, but I mean, if I had to take someone out, it would be Kevin Durant, just because he might not play a lot anyways. But that really can't be used as an excuse to take him out. But if that was the case, I would take him out because Tatum is having a spectacular year. I don't necessarily know if he. I mean, I don't necessarily know if he looks. I mean, I think his game has elevated a little, but I do think he was playing well last year. So I
Who's
think
that?
he's playing Jason Tatum. I think he's playing a
Oh,
little better than he was last year.
yeah.
But I don't know. It just sounds like something like it's. I guess it's not getting a lot of attention from the media. It just seemed like it's getting swept under the rug. Like a lot of these great players, like their games get swept under the rug. So I do think he's not getting enough love for MVP consideration. Because people still talking about Yoke, people still talking about these big guys with Embiid and Giannis, and I don't think he's getting enough love. So I definitely think he needs to be up. I know he's up in that conversation, but I think he needs to get a little more love in that conversation.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, somebody that plays high level on both ends of the floor. I think he's like fourth in the league in scoring right now. And then obviously the Celtics have the best record in the Eastern Conference. Like,
Yeah,
I think he's top 5 in MVP. It's just unfortunately the MVP conversation is like what 7 guys probably right now.
yeah, it's the
Yeah,
deepest
it's loaded.
Yeah, it's tough to show everybody love.
Yeah, it's as deep as MVP pool that I've seen probably since I've been watching ball. Like I've never seen a legit 7, 8 people legitimately have a chance to win MVP. I've never seen it's always at this point of the season, almost midpoint. It seems like it's always boiled down to like 3 or 2,
Yeah.
but still with like 40 odd ish games, a little less probably. You have 8 people jockeying for positions for MVP. It's I've never seen it this late in the season,
Yeah.
let alone this many contenders for it. So
Mhm.
I think we're set up for an excellent finish to this season. Are we done with the East? Any last words for the East?
I'm good. You want to jump to the West?
Yeah,
Go
Chaz,
to
why don't
the
you give us
West.
go? Go ahead, Tunde.
Oh, I said I'm fine in the West.
Are you fine in the West?
That was a John Morant reference. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, I got you. Chaz, why don't you give us those reserve individuals for the West?
Yeah, so Western Conference All-Star reserves are John Morant, Demonis Sabonis, Lowry Markkinen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Paul George, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Damian Lillard.
De'Aaron Fox has to be on that list. Like
That's your biggest snub?
to me, I mean, you could go Edwards. Again, my thing on Davis is he hasn't played enough, but a lot of these players haven't played enough, so I can't even use
Yeah.
that.
I don't know if Jaren
No,
Jackson Jr. has played enough.
yeah, so I can't even use that anymore. Based on what the NBA has, based on who they named, I mean, the reserves, the fans and the coaches and the executive and everyone else. But I would say Anthony, Fox, and Edwards, but I would say Fox number 1. I do think because the Kings are 3rd place in the West. Like, when is the last time that's happened? Like, I I got to show them some type of love. I think he deserves to be on that team.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in what 16, 17 years, I think.
yeah,
And
it's
Mhm.
been a long
20
time.
year 20 years since I think they've been, this competitive and this relevant. I thought they were going to have two all-stars. I will say the West backcourt is absolutely stacked. I mean, the reserves
Yeah.
are Damian Lillard, John Moran, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean,
Mhm.
like who out of those three guys
Dame,
you would take off Dame?
yes.
He's had what 40 and 6 out of his last
I know he
11.
just had a monster game last night.
60-point game. Yeah, I think 40 again last night, right? I mean, like, plus he's what a six-time All-Star at this point. I think it would be pretty hard to leave him off the list.
I'm just going based off this year. I think Fox has had a better year.
Yeah,
His team is better.
there's
He's
no
not a
doubt
better
about that.
player, of course. He's not a better player, but I'm using to buffer the argument for Fox. I'm using his team success, and we don't see Sacramento in the top of the West like at all. Since the fact that they're third, I feel like that they need a little love. So I would obviously it's the fans vote, so they're going to vote who they want in, and Dame is a household name.
Well, the
So
bench is the coaches.
the bench is the coaches.
Yeah, they vote for
So
the.
so I mean I understand it, but I still think I would have gave Fox that opportunity.
Yeah.
It's hard to take Dame off of it, but I would have went with Fox.
Do you think there's anything to the fact that they gave it to Sabonis, so they, the NBA kind of feels like, that was one Sacramento King. We don't need to overdo
I
it.
think they deserve two.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just so hard to figure out who that player would be. I don't know that I would be able to leave Damian Lillard off, especially with the way he's been playing the last month.
Mm-hmm.
Tunde, what are your thoughts on the Western Conference reserves?
I mean, my thoughts on the Western Conference reserves is that I don't think I would have put Jaren Jackson Jr. on this list as good as he's been this year. And I think I'd have Anthony Edwards out there as well. I know it's kind of different from a positional standpoint, but again, I think we should be leaning into being as positionless as possible with these. So, but I feel a little. I feel more like the West got it right than I did with the East.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jaren Jackson is probably the only one that I don't really agree with in the Western Conference. If I could replace him with De'Aaron Fox, I would. I don't know if that was because of the position. I think Anthony Edwards, like you guys both mentioned, was right in that conversation, but I figured he wouldn't because, if De'Aaron Fox can't, then I think Edwards was just outside of that. But I don't know, I don't know who the other options were in the front court if they wanted to replace Jaren Jackson with somebody. I mean, he's been playing
Davis.
great. Anthony Davis, yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis was playing probably like at a top 10 player in the league type of level.
MVP caliber when he was
Yeah.
healthy.
And I think he's missed like 21 games or something. So it'd be really hard to put him in there. But Jaren Jackson missed a lot of games at the beginning of the year. So I don't really know how they weigh that. I don't know. I think I agree with you, Tunde, though, that they got it right for the most part.
Gotcha. Let's move to the starters for the West. So I believe we had Steph, we have Luka, LeBron, KD,
Zion,
Zion,
and Jokic.
Jokic. Do we have any problems with that starting five? Because to me, Zion should be on that list, but
Who would though? That's the only thing.
I mean, if we're taking into account that we're not using how many games people have missed, Davis should be on that list. He should be starting.
Wow.
I'm
I
just
would tend to
calling
agree.
it what it is.
I
Would you
would
say
tend to agree with that. I would also say that I would be perfectly fine with Laurie Markkinen or Domantas Sabonis as a starter if we're doing that with Zion, just based on the games played. It's you have to be on the court. That has to matter somewhat.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like I don't think they took games missed into account when they were doing this. So if they've not taken into account how many games individuals miss, then I have to put Davis in that starting lineup and take a Zion out. I believe up to this point, Davis he has had a better season for what we've seen. So if we're going based on how they have played when they played, Davis has been better, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
I
Yeah,
agree with you. I don't think it's by a wide margin. I mean, I think Zion's been right there. But I would probably lean that way too. And I mean, Zion hasn't played in, I think it's been almost a month now. So he might be another one of those guys that will be an all-star starter, and won't actually play in the game. So we might end up seeing somebody like Markkinen or Sabonis, like you mentioned, Tunde.
I have another. I don't know how this is going to go over with people. I don't think Steph should be starting. Like, I know that sounds crazy. Um,
Because of the games missed.
I think the game's missing. His team is teetering. Like, they're not very good. We're gonna get into it a little later, but they're like seesawing. They're back and forth. 2 games over 500, 2 games under, 3 games under. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They lose 7 straight. I'm being facetious, but
I mean,
they
it's
get the
the
point.
West is hard though because in the West 3 through 13 is separated by like 3 games. So I mean,
That's true.
By that standard, Luca shouldn't start. LeBron shouldn't start.
Mhm.
Um, and like I don't think that'd be fair.
I know. I don't think it's fair, but also I think team has played better on the court. Now, obviously, I don't think Morant's a better player than Steph, but I do believe his team is playing better. And I know that kind of doesn't make sense because the Lakers are like down and the Mavs are like down. So I do think it came down to star power. They want the best 5, and they got the best 5. But if I'm being honest, I really feel that Josh should have been starting a slightly over Steph, just a little bit. I'm not mad at the list. I'm not mad either way, but I do feel like he deserved that nod a little bit more than Steph this year, just a little bit.
Man, I feel like they went in the right direction with this one.
And I'm not gonna argue it because I feel like no way they could have went with that would have been a wrong direction. I feel like individuals that say Steph is they want to see Steph, they got what they wanted. And then individuals like, okay, if we got Ja, I mean his team is, now they're not doing so good now because they're on a loser streak. But when they came out with this, I mean they were sitting pretty good. They're still sitting pretty good. Even though the West is a free fall. Like you said, the 3 through 10 is like 3 games apart. So it's hard to tell and distinguish these teams from one another. But I do think at the time that they announced it, I do think team was playing better than Steph's. And for that alone, I would tend to give him the nod, but I'm not mad the way they went. I think it's the way that the fans wanted anyways. So
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to in a lot of these conversations. Steph is at that point in his career, just like LeBron. Probably
he's going to get it every year. No
just like
problem.
KD. Like if you're healthy and you're playing, they're going to be an all-star starter.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I'm not mad at it
That's how
because
it should be. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We have any other problems with the Western Conference?
No, I mean, I like Tuna said earlier. I think they got it right mostly. I mean, obviously somebody like Lowry Markkinen isn't somebody that we would have had here in the beginning of the season, but he's in the conversation to be a potential starter. And he's been phenomenal. So I think it's exciting to see guys like that, get their first All-Star nod. But I think they got it. I think they got it right.
Tade?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chaz again. I think they largely got it right. This is a pretty good job with the West Side.
Gotcha. All right, guys. I want to
I,
move
I do
into.
want to I do want to ask real quick because we're
Yeah,
gonna see. I think they're gonna do the NBA All-Star draft different than we've ever seen.
they're
They're
going
gonna
to
do
do it on the court.
Yeah, like pregame, I guess.
Yeah,
Who do you guys think? Like, we don't have to go through all 10 players, but like, who do you guys think is going to be, maybe the first 2 or 3 players picked? Like,
Giannis and
well, the
LeBron
captains
as
are
caps.
LeBron and Giannis.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Who's first pick?
I think Steph's the first off the board. And then I think it goes KD. And then it's between, for me, I think it's between Jokic or Embiid.
Oh,
Huh?
Embiid won't be starting.
Oh, right.
So probably maybe Luca or somebody like that.
Maybe Luca
Yeah.
or maybe Luca.
Yeah. I'm interested to see because all those kind of games that they do and the politicking that goes on in those is pretty entertaining. And it's gonna be kind of cool to see it right before the game.
It for it's gonna be something for the last three. Like it's gonna be all fine and dandy until you the last person to get picked.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you want to do this live on TV and you the last motherfucker pick.
If you're an all-star starter though, you can't have your feelings hurt.
That's true.
I don't know that the All-Star starters will have their feelings hurt. I think the reserves will definitely have their feelings
Imagine
hurt.
being the last person picked in a draft, like in front of
Yeah,
live.
These are some of the most competitive people in the world we're talking about. Somebody is absolutely taking it personal.
Yeah, definitely. So I just hate to be
Him
that
is Lowry
person.
marking it. He can't take it personally.
Yeah, no.
Why not?
Come on, he should just be
Because he's
happy.
Larry Markin.
He just got to be happy to be there.
He playing fantastic basketball. Don't disrespect
Oh man.
him.
Oh man, he's playing great ball. It's incredible to see.
Absolutely. So we look forward to that. It's just around the corner.
Yeah.
So who we got? I got the West all day, every day.
I don't know. Isn't Team LeBron is undefeated still, or do they have one loss?
Undefeated.
One loss, I think.
Isn't he like 5-0 since the captain?
Well,
thing?
yeah, I think he's undefeated since they've done the captain thing.
He's undefeated, and also he's been a captain every year.
Every single time.
Every
Yeah.
year. That's insane.
He'll be the captain every time until he is out of the league.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ride with Team LeBron then.
You gotta go West. All right, Team LeBron. Tell me who
I'm
you got.
also gonna ride with Team LeBron.
Even though we don't know anybody on the roster, I'm gonna go with Team LeBron.
I feel like
We know LeBron.
he know how to construct the team.
Oh yeah, you got to trust his GM skills for sure.
Yeah, so we just going based off faith in what we've seen in the last 5 years. Just a sneak preview. So let's dive into MVP.
Let me
Right now,
start
guys, we're just going to go around. Go ahead.
Let me just start this recording over real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Cool. Go ahead.
All right, guys, welcome back to Spoken Truth. Right now, we're going to dive into MVP talk. Right now, Chaz, if you were to give the MVP trophy away, who would you give it to?
Man, I feel like this is like the most fickle that we get. It's like a different answer every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm actually going to go back to my preseason pick right now, at least for the time being, and go with Joel Embiid. I think after the Saturday performance head to head against Jokic, I think they were already right there in the conversation. And for me, that was just enough to bump him over Jokic right now. I mean, this is something that literally changes by the week. Mention not to mention that we haven't talked, I think, in like 2 weeks. So much has changed since then. But I don't know, like we said, a few minutes ago, this is like a conversation that's 6, 7, 8 guys deep. So it's something that we don't really know what it's going to look like in 2.5 months. But right now, I think I would go with Embiid.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Jokic is averaging a triple-double, 25-point triple-double right now?
He is, yeah.
So is it that we're just getting numb to like how he's performed? Because that's all-time great. Like, are we just getting used to putting up these type of numbers? Like, why do I feel like he's not getting that type of respect after winning back-to-back? Like, is people just tired of voting for him?
I'm glad to hear you respecting Nikola Jokic's name just to start. But I would say it's probably voter fatigue, and like that's about it. Like, people are, I think for most people, giving somebody the MVP award 3 consecutive years is saying you are the best player in the world. And I think for a lot of people, they don't feel like they can quite get there with Nikola Jokic. So they, there's the hesitation and the voter fatigue.
Do you guys think if the Nuggets finish first place in the West and he's still averaging these type of numbers, which I feel like is, pretty much a sure thing at this point, do you guys think he would be MVP? Because I kind of feel like he would be. I think he was the leader in the clubhouse up until that game on Saturday.
I mean, I think I have a very hard time seeing seeing him thinking he'll get the award, and I don't think it'll be his fault. But
Yeah. So who would you
I
give
think
it to right
people are
now?
going to just look at the playoffs. Sorry, go ahead, Chess.
I was gonna say, so who do you think it would go to right now?
I mean, right now, if they gave out the award today, I think I would agree with you, Chaz, that it would be Joel Embiid. Um, although I think Jason Tatum would be my pick. Um, but yeah, I think it would be Joel Embiid. You mentioned this weekend. I mean, I think that 47-point game against the Nuggets probably will stick in the mind of people who the people who vote for this award. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was really an unbelievable performance for them to come back in the second half like that and really put it to the Nuggets. Philly has been playing phenomenally lately. Tyrese Maxey's back in the mix, and James Harden has really been playing well lately. Pretty much automatic, like 25, 8 and 8. And not to mention Embiid, like I said, he's leading the league in scoring with over 33 points per game. Obviously, 10 plus rebounds per game too. I mean, he's been playing probably better than ever before, which is saying something for a guy that has finished runner up back to back years in the MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I do think as of now, I will give that nod to Embiid. But this pool is like we said earlier, like it's about 8 individuals that are jockeying for position to get this award. I do think voters are tired of voting for Jokic, even though he's doing something historic. Um, but also, I think Embiid is playing just as good. Now I think they dominate two different ways. Obviously, we know Jokic is more of a finesse player. Embiid at times could be finesse as well. But I think they get their points a little different. I think it's people look at Embiid as is more impactful, in which I don't think that's true because 25 is 25. But I do think I think when the dust settles, it's a 3-man race. Unfortunately, I don't think Giannis is in it because I do think people are tired of voting for him as well. But I do think Jokic is still in it along with Tatum and Embiid. I do think the winner will be between Tatum and Embiid. If Tatum continues on the trajectory that he's on, um, I feel like it's going to be competitive down the stretch. But I think Embiid beating Jokic head to head was one of those things where like I can see voters giving him the nod when it comes down later in the stretch when they're making a decision like, oh, he beat him head to head, he kind of outplayed him. um so I do think he's going to get that edge if it comes down to those two guys. um any other individual that we could see jocking that can make that final push to potentially lead these guys in his MVP conversation? I know it can go 7 to 8 deep.
I mean, I think depending on what the rest of the year looks like, Luca and LeBron can and maybe will be added to the conversation.
Okay. What do you think Luka has to do in order to leapfrog, say, an Embiid or Tatum? Do you think obviously, I think the seating matters, but where do you think Dallas has to be in order for him to be in that conversation, top three?
I mean, I think a top 4 Dallas would do it.
Top four?
Yeah.
Okay. With him playing the same way?
Yeah, top 4 with him playing the same way. Obviously, can't say this enough. It's important that he actually be on the floor for that.
Mhm.
but if he's on the floor, not out. I know he's just recently had the ankle injury and everything. If he's on the floor, I think he'll be in that conversation if they're top four.
Chaz?
Yeah, I think it has more to do with how the team is playing than how Luka is really because I mean he's top five in points, top five in assists. I think he leads the league in 50-point games. He just had 53 the other night again against the Pistons. So I mean he's playing at an MVP level. The team is kind of teetering. They've been pretty average for most of the season. So yeah, I think if they could kind of go on a run, maybe finish as the 3 or the 4 seed, which I think is possible. I don't know if they're going to get there though. I'm not really high on a lot of their players on their team, so um, I think a lot of the nights it's as it has been for the last couple of years, but I think even more so this year is that it's all on Luka's shoulders. And sometimes you can kind of ride that to an MVP win, and other times I feel like it can kind of hold you back. If the team isn't as competitive as the other MVP candidates, which it doesn't look like the Mavericks are going to be as good as, say the Nuggets or the 76ers, obviously not the Celtics. So that's probably going to be what comes back to get them in the end.
Okay. All right, guys. Any last words on the MVP debate?
Nothing from me.
No. What do you want to jump to?
All right, we could jump into LeBron.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Spoken Truth.
Sorry, there was a delay.
Now you're good.
Go ahead.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Spoken Truth. Now we want to get into some history we're on the cusp of in a couple games of LeBron becoming the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. I believe coming into tonight's game, he was 89 points shy of that record. Just what do we think this record, once he breaks it, what does this record mean when we're talking about LeBron? Obviously, he's an all-time great player. But what will this record do? Will this launch LeBron into people think he's already won? He can't go nowhere, if he's already won. But if he's 2 or 3, like what lasting impression would this record leave on LeBron's legacy? He's done so much. So adding this to his legacy, what would this benchmark, this history making eclipse do for his career?
The history making is that he's probably going to be awarded or not awarded, but he's probably going to reach the number one scorer all time mark while also reaching the top 5 in assist mark in the same week within a matter of days of each other. The legacy is that he's the best player to ever touch a basketball.
Okay.
I think this could arguably be LeBron's greatest achievement. LeBron is literally the definition of somebody that has dominated his entire career. I mean, we've seen no drop off. He still goes out and competes on an MVP basis to this day. I mean, to average 38 and 7, I think, at 38 years old, I mean, that's unprecedented. And he's not backing his way into this record. He's not slowing down at all. I mean, this has been something that's has been climbing for 20 plus years now. And I think you could say it's his biggest achievement. I can't imagine how LeBron feels right now being so close to it. Like you said, 89 points away. He's not playing tonight against the Pacers, so he's probably going to break it next week on Tuesday or Thursday. Danny, like you said before we got on, I think they play the Thunder and the Bucks, I believe, next week. So
I think he breaks it on Thursday. If I didn't check to see he was playing tonight, because of that, I think he breaks it at home on Thursday against the Bucks.
Yeah, and I mean, that's going to be something that we've never seen before. I mean, obviously Kareem did it, but in this era for LeBron to do something like this, it's unprecedented. And I mean, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know it's hard to say that it's going to lift him over somebody like MJ because anybody that defends MJ and says he's number one,
Mhm.
I don't think this is going to really change their answer
Yeah.
or their opinion. I mean, it's obviously another thing that LeBron can hang his hat on,
Mhm.
but I mean, I think like it's not going to launch his career or anything like that. Like it's kind of like when Steph Curry broke the 3-point record. It's not like we were saying Steph Curry is the second best shooter of all time, and then when he broke the record, he jumped up to first. Like it was something that we've already kind of known. And if you felt that way,
You
then the
just needed the
record,
record to
yeah,
validate.
the record was just something that was building for a long time, but we knew he was going to get there at some point, and that doesn't make it any less of a celebration. I just don't know if it's going to like change his legacy. I mean, his legacy's been cemented since
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah. I think um when Steph broke the record, he went on, he was even talking about how he didn't even call himself the greatest shooter ever until he broke it. When everybody else knew he was. So it was like,
Yeah.
you're the greatest shooter ever, bro. Like,
Mhm.
so well, he wouldn't give himself that nod until he broke the record. Um, I think for LeBron, like for him to not be or get the respect of a scorer to be the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, it's just like you can't write a better script. Like I think a lot of people who would choose Kobe or choose LeBron in the scoring category. And I still think even though he's itching towards his record, he still don't get the respect as a scorer, because he's a pass for his guy, which he is, but he's going to be all-time leading scorer. So that has to count for something. So I don't think the record does much because I already think LeBron is number 3. I
So,
just
so
think
you have Kareem over him,
I have Kareem number 2.
and this wouldn't now I feel like somebody that has Kareem over LeBron, this could be something that does something for that legacy, but I think most people have LeBron already over Kareem.
That's a debate I guess we can have once he passes it, and I actually think about it a little more. I haven't really thought about it recently if it would move him to 2. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
that it wouldn't because I think it could
Yeah.
actually you're passing him. So when I go back and I look at the resume, I'm like, well, I mean, and to be fair, I think Kareem is a little jealous of LeBron, but that's not even the discussion that we're about to have here. I think he's a little jealous of LeBron. I really do. But I think it's a conversation. It's definitely a conversation. I'm not going to slam the door on LeBron being 2. If that happens, I think it's very plausible that he moves up to 2. Some people have him 2, some people have him 1. I have him 3, but I think that's a conversation we could revisit. I haven't really thought about it, but that's definitely something that we could talk about once he breaks it. Where we have him right now. No Tony has him 1. I think Chad, you have him 2. I have him 3.
Mhm.
So definitely Sunday he won't have a lot to say because he have him at already 1. But I think it'd be interesting. Do you think he passed Michael Chaz with this record, or are you just it's
No,
Michael?
I don't, but I'm also somebody that kind of sees it differently. Like we're talking GOAT rankings, I think Michael is one, but I mean LeBron is the most productive player in NBA history. I don't really think there's a way around that. So if you're just talking, you
Mhm.
know, put these
I,
two players on a core who had the better career,
I
I think
think
you could say it's LeBron.
I think the case LeBron, the best case, and I've always said this, I think the best case LeBron has because he won't pass MJ in rings. Because I think LeBron's done winning rings. Me personally, I don't think he's winning anymore.
Mhm.
But the case LeBron has is longevity.
Yep.
He's going to be able to say, I did this at a higher clip in year 19, 20, 21, 22 than anybody to ever play the game. And I think that's his case. And obviously he's going to, when it's all said and done, I think he's going to be top 5 in assists, which is amazing within his own. Like to be top 5 in assists and then be number 1 in points, like
Unbelievable.
I will give you this. He's making it hard for people to make the MJ case.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
he's making it hard for people to make the case that MJ's better. Because now once you put the chips to the table, all you're going to say is MJ won 6 chips. and he never went to a game 7, and he has 6 Finals MVPs. He's unblemished. And I tell people all the time, even though I have Jordan 1, people think Michael Jordan's career started when he won the first title. Like, Michael got bounced out of the playoffs. Like, Michael had bad performances. People, I'm not here to go on a rant about Michael and LeBron, but people forget about that, you know? So I'm not one that lose hindsight of that. But I do think LeBron's case is, I've done this longer at a higher clip than anyone in history. That's his case for the GOAT.
And there's no question. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Any last words for that?
Nah, not too much to say on that one. I mean, I think you guys know I think he's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's the GOAT. In my mind, it's not a question. So,
Gotcha. Chaz, any last words on that?
No, so I will just ask. You said that you think he's going to break it against the Bucks next Thursday.
Yeah.
So would that just be one game before that, or no? They must play this weekend too, right?
They play Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay, is Saturday? Who's that against?
Saturday it's against.
I'm just wondering if he's going to sit out any more of these games, and
I don't think so, because I think he wants to do it at home.
Yeah.
Who do they play Saturday? Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up fast. 89 points. I mean, he's probably going to get that in his third game that
Pelicans.
He played. Okay.
It goes Pelicans, Thunder, Bucks. Everyone thought he was going. What the way that it played out, or we thought it would play out. He played the next 3 games. Thunder got seats going for like $75,000 in the front row. Obviously, he's not going to break it there. But I would imagine he wants to do it at home. He's going to do it at Staples or what a crib. So, yeah, it's going to be an historic night. I can't wait to see it, actually.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited for it. I hope that he's able to do it with like a bang too, you know, have a 40-point game, or, you know, have a 35-point game and, you know, a tight finish or something, like, you know, do it in a memorable way.
Yeah. I just think, just because I'm a fan, I like to see records get broken. Like, I don't know, like it's my generation of basketball. Like, I want to see this generation of players break the records. Like, you know, yeah. I don't think it's going to be a long time, if any. Like, someone's going to have to average 25 points a game for 22, 23, 21, 22 seasons. Like, this is one of the records where we're not going to be alive if it gets broken. Like,
yeah, and he's not done.
Yeah, he's not done.
He's probably playing for another 2 years. So, I mean, he's going to extend this record out.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Let's move on from that. All right, guys. Welcome back to Spoken Truth. And in this segment, I just wanted to toss the takes to Chaz and Tunde here. I wanted to start with Tunde. Tunde, what's on your mind? What's on your mind right now in the NBA? What do you want to get off your chest?
That's a good question. Honestly, the first thing that's on my mind when I think NBA right now is, will Lonzo Ball ever play basketball again?
Okay.
So that's the first thing that's on my mind. And then the Bulls have looked, you know, much worse without him versus what they did with him. You know, he makes them, 4 or 5 wins better. So that's what's on my mind. Chaz, what about you?
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. That's a Bulls team that I feel like they kind of went all in a couple years ago with that Vucevic trade, and it hasn't paid off. I mean, injuries have been a lot of that reasoning, but I mean, last year kind of seemed like their high point getting into the playoffs. This year, I don't even know if they're going to make the play in. Despite having, a pretty impressive roster. But a couple of things that have been, on my mind recently has been, I mentioned him last time too, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, I think he's like 5th right now in scoring. He's had 30-point games this season, which is like just incredible to me. I mean, we're not even at the All-Star break. And somebody like that has 30 plus 30 point. I mean, somebody like Paul George, who's also an All-Star, only has like 8. So, you can just see the difference right there. And then also somebody like Kyrie, his fourth quarter scoring has been huge in keeping the Nets afloat during Kevin
Absolutely.
Durant's absence. Yeah, I mean, he's putting up numbers that we haven't seen since Kobe Bryant. I heard on the JJ Redick podcast that Kyrie was averaging over 16 points per game in the fourth quarter, which only like Kobe has done in the last 25 years. And I mean, he's had four, I believe, 20-point fourth quarters this season, which is already the most of any player in the last 25 years. And I mean, we still have, 2+ months left in the regular season. So I assume he's probably going to have the most ever. And that's a team that's been kind of struggling without Kevin Durant. But I feel like Kyrie has picked it up to where at least they're still competing. And they're still in the fourth seed in the Eastern Conference, despite not having Kevin Durant for the last good portion of the season.
I think he's played amazing ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no controversy around him. There's nothing. He's just going out there and playing ball. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to pose a question, and I'm not trying to start an argument with Tunde. I'm really not. But it's a legit question.
Oh, brother.
It's a legit question because I really think, have we seen Anthony Davis peak?
He's been
Like-
playing. He's been playing well since he came back from injury.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm saying because of that stretch, like what is his ceiling? Have we already seen his peak? Have we already seen the best that he can be? Or do you think there's another level, a notch that he could get to in the next couple years?
I would say I think there's another notch he could hit. I mean, if the 3-point shooting looks like it did a few years ago, I think there's another notch in there.
Okay, Chaz.
As far as being a better player than he's ever been before,
Like I'm saying, have we seen his peak? Like, have we seen the best Anthony Davis can be?
yeah, I think we have. Not to say that he can't still be a top probably 20 player in the league, if not, a little bit higher than that. But I don't think he's going to be somebody that's in the MVP conversation, like I think he was in his New Orleans Pelicans days, and I think he was playing at that level in 2020 or 2020, yeah, as well in the bubble, obviously. I don't know. I mean, he's been playing phenomenally this year. He's playing good tonight. They're down late to the Pacers, but he's playing really well. So, I mean, it's good to see it. Like you said, Tunde, he still has ways that he can improve his game. That 3-point shooting, the outside shooting in general, I think could make him better. But I don't think that he's going to be able to get back to that peak level.
Yeah, I think we've seen his highest abilities that he could play as far as basketball. And there's a lot of reasons why I think that's happening, injuries, and he's not very old, but I think his body is taking a beating over his span of his career. I do think we've seen the best that Anthony Davis can be. And I think when they won the championship in the bubble, he was playing fantastic. The part of this year he was playing fantastic, but I do think we've seen the best. Why is it a fly in here? Oh my goodness! We've seen the best of Anthony Davis. I don't think that's a hot take, but I know Tunde is tired. He was gonna get. He always get a little riled up when I mention Anthony Davis because he always think I'm trying to diss him or something, But
I mean, he's been playing great this season. I think he could still be the player that, could be the second best player on a championship team, which is what he was a few years ago. He's got 29 and 13 right now. And I will say, I thought I saw LeBron wasn't going to play tonight, but LeBron is playing, and he's got 21 now. So he's even closer, down to 68 away. So that's very likely going to get broken next week. And it might even be against the Thunder then if he's got 20 tonight.
Gotcha. All right. Any last words on this subject right now before we go around the association?
No, I will just say real quick that you're definitely right about Anthony Davis. I mean, I think injuries have been a lot to do with it. The fact that he's not even 30 years old yet, and it feels like he's been in the league forever. But injuries have been a lot of that, and I think he can still be a great player. Will he be a top 5, 6, 7 player in the league? I kind of doubt it.
Gotcha. Tunde, any last words on that?
No, nothing else from me.
All right, we can keep it rolling, Chaz. You don't have to cut it off. I want to know who you guys' rising star is this year.
Just in general throughout the league, I feel like
General throughout the league, who has caught your eye the most?
I feel like I would be pounding the drum too much if I said Shea
Yeah,
Gilgeous-Alexander again. He probably would be my pick, but I'll go with somebody else that I also wrote down just a few days ago how much I've been liking how they've been playing. And that's Jalen Green. He is somebody that I really think is one of the most talented, just pure scorers in the NBA. His athleticism, his touch, his perimeter game is just, I mean, it's like all-star level. The rest of his game has a lot of catching up to do, but I think it's there, and that's a guy that I feel like is just a couple years away from starting to be in that all-star conversation.
Tunde?
Huh. No, I'm not sure. This is a tough one.
A lot of breakout stars in the league.
Yeah, who's caught your eye the most this season? So a player that we always talk about the big stars. Who's caught your eye the most this season that is you think is not getting enough love?
I don't think people realize just how much of a problem Laurie Markkinen has been. He's played incredible basketball this season, and is scoring so efficiently. That's where I'd go. I don't think people are realizing what they're getting out of him. And then I would say, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is another guy who is performing at a really high level, who I don't think is just, having that be appreciated. But I think the Thunder are just underappreciated as a team, on the whole right now. I mean, there's more, but, start there.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
right.
Another player I would mention too. I kind of want to get your opinion on Danny if you have anybody, but another guy that I would mention is Anthony Simons. He's been really,
I
really
like that kid.
in Portland. Yeah, playing next to Dame, obviously, he's been great. Averaging like I think almost 22 points per game. And his outside touch, he's had a few games where he's just been scorching from deep. With 8, 9, 10 3-pointers in a game. Like that dude is going to be. I think he's going to be in Portland for a while, and I don't know. It's kind of weird. We can talk about this probably at some point, not tonight, but what Portland is really doing, trying to bridge the gap between the young guys and Dame, and it's been pretty difficult. This year is no exception, even though they have had some pretty good highlights this year. I think Shaden Sharp is another guy in that team that I really like, but it seems like when those guys hit their prime, Dame is probably going to be starting to decline, and it doesn't really seem like their timelines match up. But I mean, Simons is a guy that came in. I think he was like 18 when he came in the league, right out of high school, I believe. And I mean, it kind of took him a few years. He's kind of undersized. He's pretty slight, but man, he's got a great scoring ability. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next few years. I feel like he could be, kind of a guy like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander this year, where he went from averaging, 20 to closer to 30. Simons, I don't know if he can do that since Dame is next to him. But he definitely has a scoring ability to do that.
Gotcha. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Poole. I like Jordan Poole's game. I think he, like any other young player, he has a problem with turnovers. The whole Golden State Warriors team do, so it's just not him. But he makes the bonehead decisions sometimes. Sometimes he tries to be too pretty, going behind the back, between the legs, just playing ball. So I can't blame him 100% because he's playing with individuals that's cocky like that. But they are. Golden State is a cocky team.
Yeah.
And I mean, rightfully so. They're champs, but We say Thunder?
It's in the champs.
Oh,
You're right.
I thought you said. So I definitely think he has the potential to. I think he has the potential to be a star in his league. I think he has the offensive game for it. He has to improve on the defensive end. But I think the Warriors, we were talking about bridging the gap. I don't know about Wiseman. I don't know what they're going to do with all the other. I like Kaminga, but they trying to bridge the gap between this big three and the next generation of players. Well, although you can make an argument, in my opinion, I think Jordan Poole's the third best player on that team. But I think he has the potential to be a star in this league. And I think he has a bright future.
Yeah, no doubt. I did have something written down too that kind of bounces off of this.
Mm-hmm.
I had favorite young backcourts written down. I've been thinking about that a lot the last few weeks too. So a few of the teams I wrote down, I want to hear who you guys would pick. We'll just go two of their young backcourt. I did exclude teams like the Cavaliers, the Grizzlies, and the Hawks, even though all their backcourts are relatively young. They're kind of on the older side if we're talking like real young backcourts. So I just want to get your opinions on the Thunder, the Pacers, the Pistons, and the Rockets. Out of those four teams, who's your favorite backcourt? Who do you think is going to be the best, in the long run? The Pistons is kind of hard to grade them because Cade has been out all year. But out of those four teams, the Thunder, the Pacers, Pistons, Rockets, who's your favorite young backcourt?
I think my favorite to watch is the Rockets. I think the best that'll be in the future, I think, is OKC. I like watching Houston. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a fan of basketball, but I like watching Houston play. They've been in some tough competitive games against these teams that should be blowing them out of the water. I mean, they took Golden State to the brink of losing, and it took Steph Curry buzzer beater to win. Like the fact that you were on the edge of your seat for that game lets you know that Houston, their management, and their general manager, they're going in some positive direction. I know there's been talk, and we're going to get to the trade deadline after this topic, about potentially James Harden going back there. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's the right move for him because you're going to play with all these young. Maybe it is. I don't know. But could I see it happening? I'm not sure. But also, I don't know how bad James Harden wants to win. So it can go one way or the other. But I really like watching Houston play. Those young guys, they play hard. They don't give up. Like we see some of these superstars that they be lazy sometimes. They come to play. So I like watching them. I like watching OKC, and I like watching Detroit, actually. I think Detroit got a nice future. We were talking about this at work, actually. Like that team, like them and the Detroit Lions, I don't think, well, more so the Detroit Lions, I don't think they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot next year. I think they're going to be in it. And I could see the Pistons easily. I think the Lions are making the playoff next year. I don't think it's
I
going
don't
to
know, man. I know everybody's so high on the Lions right now, and I am too, but the Lions never play well when they have expectations. So
that
I'm
is
I'm, I'm lowering that. I'm saying let's just go 7-10, and maybe we'll go 10-7.
let's go 7-10.
Yeah, we're scarred. We're scarred.
Let's start low. Let's slowly raise the bar.
I mean, when 9-8 is like the best season in recent memory, it's kind of like let's lower the bar a little bit.
Yeah, I feel that. But I like watching Houston and OKC.
Yeah. Tunde, you have a preference between those young backcourts?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think my preference as it stands right now would have to be the Thunder. We can say everything we want about Shea, but I really enjoy watching Josh Giddey play basketball. I appreciate that he's not letting the fact that he's, not much of a shooter get in the way of him, looking to score the basketball. And I love the ways that he gets around that. There was this thing Monte Ellis used to do when he played for the Dallas Mavericks, where whenever somebody would go under the screen, instead of, using that to pull up for a jumper, he would basically race them to the other side of the screen and use his quickness and athleticism to beat them there and make a move. And Josh Giddey's been doing that, except it's fun because Josh Giddey wins in a different way than Monte Ellis did. Josh Giddey wins because, he's big and strong. And he uses that to his advantage, almost like bullying people before finishing with, nice touch. So he's using moves like that bump Euro, like, get off me, Euro finish. I'm really having a fun time watching how those games are meshing. I will say that I do think that my favorite of these backcourt duos to watch will end up being the Pistons. So,
Is that bias?
100%. From a basketball perspective, it probably should be OKC, just regardless. But
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think mine would be OKC too. Like you said, Josh Giddey has just been so great. I think he's really going to be probably an all-star in a few years. It's hard to say that, the Western Conference is loaded as we talked about, but I think he's a player that's going to be at that level in just a few years. I mean, he sees the game like only a few players do. His pace, his feel, his physicality, Tunde, like you said. That's at a pretty high level, and he's only been in the league for a couple of years. And I think out of all these backcourts that we mentioned, him and Halliburton are by far the two best passers of the bunch. And the fact that Josh Giddey is playing next to somebody like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's a backcourt that's something that I feel like could be one of the best backcourts in the league, not only one of the best young backcourts.
Now, which one of those backcourts has the best team around them? I still think I will give the edge to OKC. I think they have added a bunch that we've named. I think they have the biggest upside. They have the best overall team. But I like Houston. I mean, I know they're not very good, but I like the squad they're assembled. So those young guys can play.
I like all four teams really. I mean, you talk about those kind of secondary guys, Alperen Şengün, Tari Eason, guys like those are really impressive for the Rockets as well. And then, on the Pacers, they have kind of more veterans like Miles Turner, but those guys have meshed really well with Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin. Buddy Hield, obviously. Mathurin is a guy that we're talking about. We haven't mentioned his name yet. He's coming off the bench, and he's still been really effective pretty much all season long. He's a guy that, playing next to Halliburton, he's not going to be, the main focus, but he is going to probably take more shots than Halliburton, just based on the fact that Halliburton is one of the best passers in the league. And so, that's going to open up a lot for him going forward the next few years. I don't know. I think I would probably agree with you, Danny, though. I would say the Thunder. I think their draft picks the last few years have been phenomenal. We haven't even seen Chet Holmgren, obviously. I expect him to come in next year and mesh well with these guys. Somebody like Jalen Williams is another one that I really think they hit on in the draft last year. He's a guy that's impressed me. So unfortunately, I'd probably have the Pistons last of the four, even though I do think, guys like Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey, obviously Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, I think they have a lot of talent too. These are some of the worst teams in the league, and we're talking about how much talent they have. So, the league is in a great spot right now, and I think these teams they're building towards a future. Who knows where it's going to be. Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, they might never accomplish anything together, but you have a chance to put together such a talented backcourt. You take that chance every time.
All right, amazing segment, guys. Chad, you can end that one.
I was gonna say, there's a real chance the Rockets backcourt isn't even together.
Yeah,
you think so?
I just don't see. I think they're gonna ultimately I think KPJ isn't a natural enough playmaker to make this work because it's not what Jalen Green really wants to do either. I think they just need a little bit more playmaking. And they also need to not be running the expose him offense, which is what they currently run. So
Yeah. A lot of ISO ball in Houston.
oh yeah, tons. They play pickup basketball. That's the
Yeah.
world's best pickup basketball team.
Yeah.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Spoken Truth. Now we're going to get into the Around Association segment. I want to start with the upcoming NBA trade deadline. I want to start with Tunde first. Tunde, who needs to make a move? I'm talking a contender right now that needs to make a move right now in order to win a championship. Who needs to make that move?
The Lakers need to make a move.
The Lakers.
Um,
What are let's dive deep into this Lakers for a second, because I'm very interested. What do they need to do in order for them to make some noise in the latter part of this season? What trade do you see them making realistically that can get them into that picture the latter part of the season?
I mean, I personally, the biggest flaw that team has, aside from, just general spacing and, while he's been in net positive, Russ has been really rough at the end of games this year in the closing lineup. But I mean, where I think this team could make the most immediate impact with the trade is just by getting a wing with, solid positional size who could guard somebody. They frequently have, Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook guarding wings and 6'8"
Give me an
guys.
example of a player.
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that team definitely needs perimeter defense and spacing and 3-point shooting. So Bogdanovic is somebody that gives you a little bit of, or a lot of the shooting, a little bit of the defense as well. I would say somebody like OG Anunoby. I think he's probably in line to be on an all NBA defensive team right now. To me, one of the best perimeter wing defenders in the league. So if you could somehow get a guy like that, he had some 3-point shooting as well. You might have to kind of look elsewhere for that. I know the Lakers, I've heard they're interested in a lot of those Raptors guys that sound like they're available in Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent. I mean, I think any one of those guys would probably help out the Lakers a little bit at least.
If there's a package that's out there, and I don't know which team, I'm just throwing out a scenario. If there's a package out there that can include everything that you guys are talking about, wing defenders, that have, defense, they have a person that can stretch the floor. It might be a couple players. In return, they want Anthony Davis. Are we making that, depending on the player and the team, are we making that move? Are we taking out Anthony Davis for everything that the Lakers need right now? So I'm filling the holes in our roster, everything they need right now in a package, and we're taking away Anthony Davis in that package. Are we making that deal?
No, not in my opinion. I don't think you would be able to get back. I mean, unless you're bringing back like Damian Lillard or somebody like that. I don't think if you're just going to get like some, role players, a guy that's your third, fourth, fifth best player, somebody that helps out spacing and perimeter and stuff. I don't think you're going to get that if you're trading Anthony Davis. Like, you want a pretty big package. So I wouldn't. I don't even know if they're going to end up dealing Westbrook. I think that's probably still the goal at this point, but it might just end up being flipping some other contracts, getting rid of Pat Bev, somebody like that, and trying to kind of steal, somebody like Bogdanovic, in kind of a cheap way. Give them a couple of picks, maybe one of the two future picks that they have. I don't know. I don't think they're looking to get rid of somebody like Anthony Davis. I could be wrong. But I don't know. Do you guys think that they're still trying to get rid of Russell Westbrook, or do you think it's more likely that somebody else on the roster gets moved?
I think it's more likely that somebody else on the roster gets moved, like Patrick Beverly. But I mean, to answer Danny's question, no, Anthony Davis doesn't go anywhere. That's no.
Because I'm just thinking, if we can get if they can get everything they need, obviously I know the value of Anthony Davis is not going to be matched. But unless you're traded like a high-end superstar. But I'm saying if there's a package out there that the Lakers are willing to take and it covers all of their needs. And obviously they're going to lose a piece to Anthony Davis, but covers the other needs that they need. Will they be willing to make that deal, knowing his history, knowing his injury history, knowing everything that comes with that? So I'm just trying to, finagle a little bit to see exactly what this team can do in order to improve their chances of winning. I do think they keep Westbrook. I think he's been playing well off the bench. I think we all agree that he's probably the runner-up for. I mean, he's right there. He should be the league candidate for 6 Man of the Year. So I don't think that's a discussion. But I do think, if not the trade deadline, end of the season, that they're going to try to move away from him. Because I still don't think, even coming off the bench, that this works. LeBron, Westbrook, I don't think it works. LeBron is too dominant with the ball, and rightfully so. And Westbrook is a ball dominant guard as well. So I don't think that doesn't work, especially a LeBron James led team. He's always been the primary decision maker. He's always had the ball in his hand. I don't know now in the later stages of his career if he wants to. Golden State's playing Denver. I just got the notification. I didn't know that. That he wants to be off the ball, but yeah, I don't think it worked. I think the experiment is over after this year. It's time to part ways with Westbrook. You can't keep and I'm a firm believer, you cannot keep wasting superstars like prime years. LeBron is still in his prime. He's old, of course, but he's still in his prime. You cannot keep wasting this man's years in the league without competing for a championship. Like, you have to put the pieces around him to compete for a title. If that means giving up your young pieces, your draft picks, you need to do it. Because that man deserves to compete for a title.
I don't know that there's any trade out there that's going to make them compete for a title this year. I think the best that they could probably do is get in the play-in, which I guess is their goal at this point. I'm not really sure. I think the best way to do that would be get rid of Westbrook. I think it's still possible to make the play-in by keeping Westbrook and making one of those other trades that we discussed. But I don't know. I'm sure they're going to be active at the deadline. I mean, most LeBron James led teams are, especially in a season that they're struggling in. I don't know. I will say they won tonight. Anthony Davis was great, 31 of 14, 0 for 3 from 3, but other than that, he shot 50% from the field. LeBron had 26 and 7, so we got 63 points away from the record now.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers need every win they can get. It was a 1-point win at Indiana. And I will mention too that we were talking about Halliburton earlier, if he was going to return or not. He did play tonight for the first time, I think in like a month maybe. He had 26 and 12.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right.
So he is a player that will probably be in the All-Star game.
Gotcha. All right, Chash, it's up to you now. What desperate move do you need to make for one of these teams in order for them it's a playoff team, contending team? What's going to take them over the top? Who needs to make that move?
Yeah, it's actually, I would say it's a player that I already mentioned, that the Lakers are interested in, OG Anunoby. I think if he ended up on somebody like the Memphis Grizzlies, it could make them a true championship contender. That's a team that I feel like is really close. They just have a few weaknesses, just have a few moments where they kind of slip up. To me, one of those holes is Dillon Brooks. He's one of their most inconsistent players. He has games where he's really, really good on both ends of the floor. And then there's other nights where, I mean, he can't, hit the side of the rim. He can't get stops. So he's one of their only guys that I feel like is pretty up and down. Other than that, they're one of the most consistent teams in the league. So I think if you add another defender, They just got Danny Green back from injury, so you're starting to get some of that veteran presence in there. I think if you go get one more of those guys, that's a team that's in second place in the West right now and is going to have home court. I think if you give them another guy that they can trust in the playoffs, that's a team that might be able to make a run all the way to the finals.
Gotcha. Thoughts on that, Tunde?
I mean, I could see that. I think the West is very wide open. I think you have a responsibility to, make a move. I think you can't be planning for the future at this point with LeBron. And I say that from the perspective of somebody who's seeing LeBron play at an unprecedented level at 38 years old. Like by the time the NBA Finals rolls around next year, LeBron will be 39 and a half years old. And, obviously he's playing at an elite level. He's phenomenal. Loki still has an argument to be considered best player in the world at this point, the way he's playing.
No, he doesn't. But it's okay.
But you have to take into consideration that at his age, the decline can be rapid and can be exponential. So like he looks great now. You never know what's going to happen, and things are really fragile and kind of touch and go at that age. You should be taking advantage of that while you have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw out a team that I feel like is missing one piece. They're in 10th place right now in the Western Conference. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. I feel like this team is really talented, but for some reason, I just feel like they're missing one piece. Like, don't ask me what that piece is because I have no freaking idea. I just
a healthy Zion Williamson.
But I also think they need
Brandon
something.
Ingram.
Like, you don't think, like, when you're watching this team, like, healthy, you don't feel like you're missing something, or you think this team is as is can win. Like, I don't know as is, like, this team could win a championship. I do think they could I don't know what they're missing. Like, it's something about the team that I feel like they're one piece away. Like, I don't know, maybe someone to compliment BI. Like, I don't know, but I feel like they're missing one piece. I don't know CJ McCollum, he's been playing well. I don't know. I just feel like this team is missing something. I don't know what that is, but I feel like when I'm watching them, like this team is better than their record. But this team also, I feel like when they're clicking, can make an argument that they're the best team in the Western Conference. But I realistically don't feel like they have a chance, if that makes sense. Like when it comes down to it, I'm going to take the Nuggets. I'm going to take the Grizzlies. I'm going to take the Warriors. Like I feel like they're missing something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a player. I feel like their biggest problem has been health all year. I mean, Zion's been out for like a month now. Brandon Ingram has only been back for a few games. I don't know. I mean, a lot of their games, CJ McCollum has to carry too much of a load. I feel like I think they were in like third, fourth place in the Western Conference until this 9-game losing streak. And we've mentioned a few times how that middle pack in the Western Conference is only separated by 3 or 4 games. So you go on a 9-game losing streak and you're going to plummet. I mean, the Lakers are right behind them now. And this was a team that was just second or third in the Western Conference just last month. So I don't know. I will say when they're fully healthy, fully loaded, I think that team is pretty dang good. I mean, Dyson Daniels, somebody like that, Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, that team is deep. They have probably like 8 or 9 guys that you feel comfortable being out on the floor in a playoff game. And I mean, not to mention,
I feel that, but I also know that a fully healthy Pelicans team is not beating the 3 teams that I named.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think you're right.
And I feel like they could, but I feel like they're missing something. Like I feel like this team I feel like their ceiling is their ceiling is Western Conference Finals or maybe semi. But I feel like they could get to the finals if they had, I don't know. Like it's one of those teams where I'm kind of like, I see the talent, but it's like when you're watching them, something's missing, and I can't really put my finger on it, but I feel like something's missing because I feel like they have the pieces, um, especially with Zion if he's healthy, Bi, CJ, but I feel like something's missing. And like I said, I don't know if that's a player. I don't know if it's because it's the Pelicans. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that team can make a lot of noise. But I wouldn't bet money on them beating those three teams: Nuggets, Grizzlies, or the Warriors.
Yeah, me neither. I will say that I feel like you're probably right that this team's potential is to get to the finals. It might just not be this season. I mean, this core, I feel like they might have to go through a year where Zion and Bi are completely healthy. They really get acclimated to playing next to each other. CJ can get comfortable in that third role. You know, some of those younger guys like Dyson Daniels will be even better in, a year or two from now. So I don't know. Maybe that's a team that it's just not this year. Like, this year they probably make the playoffs, again for the second straight year. Maybe they win a couple games like they did last year. If they're completely healthy, maybe they even win a whole round. But I just feel like this team is probably a couple years away. And you're probably right too, that when they do get to that point, if they do, they'll probably need one more player or two.
All right. Tunde, any last words on that?
He's muted, I think, so we can just move on if you want.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to a team who has been your most disappointing team this season, and what can they do to turn it around? I'm going to just throw that team out there. I'm going to say the Phoenix Suns. They've been atrocious. But also, I know they have a lot of internal issues going on with that organization. From a team that went to the finals 2-3 years ago to a team that's fighting to stay relevant, and we've kind of seen the rise and the fall of them. Like, is this it for the Phoenix Suns? Like, have this team together as this version of this team reach their goal? Like, can they go any further than obviously you go into the finals, you need to win it, but can they get back there? Like, is that even possible with this version of this team?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So blow it up.
I don't know. They might be at the point where they just need to ride out Chris Paul's contract. I mean, they want to obviously keep a guy like Devin Booker for his whole career if they can, and kind of try and revamp that rebuild and kind of try and do it on the fly, and maybe you can be competitive again in a couple years. But this version of the Phoenix Suns team, no, I don't see them getting back there. I mean, I think their window was that 2 or 3 year window, and to me, it's closed. They're probably a playoff team. I mean, maybe. If Devin Booker and Chris Paul are able to be healthy after the All-Star break. Devin Booker was playing great up until he got hurt. So, I mean, if they can all mix together, they'll probably squeeze into the play-in. But no, they're not a championship contender anymore.
Tunde.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too many injuries and not enough guys who have the ability to create in the half court setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard to make work. I mean, Cam Johnson's missed time this year. Campaign has missed time this year. Chris Paul's missed time. Devin Booker's currently missing time. I mean, and there's more. I mean, it's just been a lot. I mean, Jay Crowder hasn't played at all this season because they got Jay Crowder's running around here like he Pac.
Like he a superstar.
Man,
Big money. He want big money. I'm like, boy, you better stop before you'll be in the league.
He's not good enough to hold out.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. Jay Crowder, and then he was saying, like, I was reading. They said that but Phoenix is trying to get a pick, a good young player, and they were trying to get like a pick, a good young player, and like salary cap relief for Jay Crowder.
You can get one of those three, maybe.
I just remember looking at it. I just remember reading that and thinking, like, I hope he buys a house in Phoenix. Like,
you guys think that's somebody that's going to be picked up? towards this trade deadline? Is he somebody that you think is on another team by the
He's
end of the
gonna
month?
he's gonna remind me of another Dennis Schroeder. Like he take a chance on himself. Lakers offer him that contract, and then he end up signing a $1 million deal 1 year with Boston. I can't.
I I mean, I think
That's
I
crazy.
think that Jake Crowder will be staying in Phoenix. It
You think
just
so?
sounds like, yeah. I mean, for the time being, anyway. And then something gets worked out in the off season. But it just sounds like the price is too high for whatever he's asking for, unless he gets bought out of his contract. But I just think the price is too high for what Phoenix wants for him.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance he gets bought out. So you're saying you think there's a solid chance that he doesn't play the whole year and they've resolved this in the offseason?
Yeah, I think there's a solid chance he doesn't play in the offseason or doesn't play the whole year and it's resolved in the offseason. Or there's a solid chance that he gets bought out after the trade deadline. But I don't see him getting traded by the trade deadline. I just don't think anybody's gonna pay the price for what Phoenix allegedly wants.
Yeah, if that's the asking price, I don't blame you. So did you have a biggest disappointment so far this season?
I mean, honestly, I think Phoenix is a pretty good one. I think if you had asked me this question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm.
Um, I'll go with the Chicago Bulls though. And I think it's tough because they're just very clearly not the same team with Lonzo Ball not playing, and Lonzo Ball is apparently not close to returning. Um, so it's not looking great for him to return this year, and his long-term future with them is really murky because of the health issues. But Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan don't play off-ball defense, and it's a mess. They aren't quite getting the version of Nikola Vucevic that they need. You know, they're trying to outscore teams, and they're not getting stops, and they don't have enough playmaking. Um, and again, you can tie a decent amount of these things to Lonzo being out, but I think even with Lonzo being out, you just expected better from them this year than what we've gotten.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think so too. I think with that roster, you should at least be hovering around 500. And instead, they've been below that pretty much all season long. Um, I don't know. That's one of the teams I had written down. I would also have the Timberwolves. They're playing a little bit better the last few weeks. I think like 6-4 in the last 10. They went from like 10th place, I believe. They're up to sixth right now. But like we've said multiple times, that can change day in and day out. Timberwolves, though, I don't know. It's been a struggle with Rudy Gobert. He's having his worst year really since he became a starter in the league. I mean, Towns has been out for months now, so maybe that will get better after he comes back, which should be happening pretty soon. Anthony Edwards has been playing great. I think they actually started to play a little bit better when Gobert went down with an injury too, which is never a good thing when you give up as much draft capital as they did. And it seems like you actually play better when he's off the floor. So I don't know. I mean, they had better offensive rhythm with a guy like Nas Reed in there, opposed to Gobert. And Nas Reed is a guy that was really instrumental last night in their win over the Warriors. I think he had like 27, 28 points, a double double. He was great. He had a few big time shots down the stretch, and then kind of the game sealing dunk as well right at the end. So, I mean, I don't know. The Timberwolves aren't in a great place. I think they were in a better spot last year, and I think they would be in a pretty good position if they didn't make that Gobert trade, or at least if they didn't have to give up everything that they did. I mean, if you
I think
had,
it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'll say I think it's interesting because when he's playing, they're a top defensive team in the league, and when he's not, they're bottom. Like I believe they're like 28, 29, somewhere in that range. But when he's playing on the court, they're actually a pretty good defensive team. But obviously, I think they need more than just that. Obviously, I think that team is at best a 7 or 8 seed. team that probably win 1 or 2 games in the first round and then get bounced. But I don't think I think our ex. I mean, I think you have a little bit of some expectations for this team to potentially get out of the first round. I don't know if you said that at the beginning of the season.
I had them finish in eighth, so I mean, I think they're right about where I expected them. I just feel like they kind of made a trade that
Yeah,
that
a
a
big
contender
trade.
that a contender would make, that a
Yeah,
team that felt like they were one player away
yeah,
would make, and they weren't that. And now they're kind of seeing that they're pretty much in the same position, and they have way less assets. I don't know. It's a confusing thing because it's been such a kind of a rough fit with him and Towns next to each other, and then with him and Edwards next to each other as well. D'Lo has been playing good the last like few weeks, but besides that, he's had a pretty bad season. And him next to Edwards still hasn't been figured out. So D'Lo is a guy that's probably not going to be there a year from now. I don't know. Like this team is just kind of in the middle. I mean, they're pretty average. They score 115 points a game. They give up 115 points a game. Like they're pretty much average. A couple games above 500. I mean, they're probably going to win 40 plus games and, be in the mix to be a play-in or just inside of the play-in. I think they have to have a goal to be that sixth seed, though. If you can be
yeah.
the sixth seed and avoid the play-in, I think at least it'll be a little bit of a step up from last season.
Gotcha. All right. Any last words, Tunde, on that topic?
I mean, I would have to say, I tend to agree with a decent amount of what you guys said. It's really tough to give away that much draft capital for somebody who this year hasn't been at his best, and looks like at the very least you have to rethink him being like a part of your closing lineup. With that being said, there's talent here. There's talent here to make something happen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. We're sticking on the topic of around the association. Now, I have a list of takes here that over the course of the season thus far, I've kind of jotted down, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, yay or nay. Whether you think this take is valid, whether you think it's invalid. I want to start off really hot. Yay or nay, Joel Embiid is the best player in the NBA.
Nay.
Nay, why?
Even though I said I think he's the MVP right now, I still don't think he's a better player than Nikola Jokic. I think there's probably also a couple other guys that I would have ahead of him, like Giannis, Steph, Kevin Durant when he's healthy. Luka most likely, but I mean Embiid is in the conversation with those guys. I wouldn't have him number one, even though I would have him in that conversation. I just think that Jokic is somebody that you can't double team him. He's arguably the best passer in the whole league, and not that he has a perfect game, but I just think he's slightly better than Embiid.
Okay. Tunde, yeah or nay?
I'll say nay. That's a tough one. I mean, like Chaz said, Joel Embiid deserves to have his name mentioned as a part of that conversation, but it's a tough conversation, and I mean, I think the right answer is probably still Giannis. So,
Okay. All right. We're as we go on, these are going to just get harder and harder. Yay or nay? This is the last year of the big three in Golden State: Steph, Clay, and Draymond.
I'll say nay. I think they play. I think they play together in the future as well. I don't think all three of those guys finish their career in Golden State, but I think it continues next season at least.
Okay. Tunde?
I'll say give me the question one more time. I blanked out there. My
Yay or nay?
apologies.
This is the last year of this version of Golden State's big three: Steph, Clay, and Draymond.
Right. So I would say this is the last year. So I'll say yeah.
I agree too.
I'm expecting Draymond Green to be somewhere else next year.
I do too. I expect Draymond to potentially be on another team. Every sign, in my opinion, has pointed to this being the last year of this version of that big three. I already think, without it being really known, that Poole is the third player in that big three. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's been like a lot of controversy in the offseason. Still, they haven't got over it, and it's affecting how they're playing on the court. Well, all that being said, Draymond's going to want an extension. He's going to want to get paid. And I don't think the Warriors are going to pay him. Will that be the wrong decision? We will have to wait and see. But I do think this is the last year, like the last hurrah for this version of Golden State. And I do think it can possibly still end up with a championship if all things play out the way that they wanted to. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I think you're
I
right.
know, Chad, you want to respond to that.
No, I definitely think you're right. I mean, there's a lot of teams in that Western Conference that I feel like have a chance to make a run, but there's nobody that I feel more comfortable with still than the Warriors right now. The only thing that I would kind of worry about is if they weren't able to get into a good seeding, and where I feel like if they don't have home court advantage and they're facing a team that's just as good as them, I think they could get picked off. But no, that's a team that, despite their record, is still very, very much in the finals mix.
All right. Yay or nay, Denver is the best team in the Western Conference. Not looking at the record, looking at the top to bottom, looking at the roster. Realistically, is this the best team in the West?
They are right now.
Okay. Yay. Tunde?
I'll say yay, very begrudgingly.
Okay.
I'm actually
I'm gonna say nay. I'm gonna say the Clippers.
I'm actually gonna say nay. I do think I have some questions about Denver and getting stops come playoff time. The one thing that I'm really interested to see with how Mike Malone chooses to use his rotations is that Denver's closing lineup has been huge, a huge positive from a plus minus standpoint this year, and I'm interested in seeing if and the rotation gets tighter, and if so, like by how much, and if that closing lineup just plays more minutes.
Yeah,
that is a team that I kind of worry about their depth sometimes. Somebody like Bones Highland has kind of fallen out of the rotation recently. Even though he has a lot of pop off the bench, he's not always consistent. I think that's been a big reason why he's fallen out of the lineup recently. But yeah, they're like top 6 guys are really trustworthy, are really good defenders. You know, guys like KCP, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, all those guys are playing at a high level this season. Jamal Murray is getting back to his level, and obviously Jokic is doing his thing. I think right now I would have them as the best team, but there's no doubt that I worry about them in the playoffs as well. I mean, we saw them against the Warriors. You get that switch where Jokic is having to run around, chase guys on the perimeter. He can't do that. I mean, who knows if they're going to be able to fix it, if they're going to be able to, blitz that pick, and maybe have a little bit of a better outcome this season than they were last, when Steph kind of played Jokic off the court in a couple of those fourth quarters. So if you face a team like that can get those switches and will just pound that over and over and over, that's a team that I feel like could lose, maybe in the second round. But I mean, I still think that they have a good chance to get to the finals, though. Do you guys agree with that?
I do. I do think they have a kind of a short bench, personally. But I do think the way that they're starting 5, and we need to talk a little bit about Aaron Gordon as well. Like, I think he deserved a little bit of love as far as being a reserve. I do think this team can potentially make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I think it also depends on matchups. If they're facing someone like Golden State, I'm going to pick Golden State because their style of basketball. And then it seems like in crunch time situations, obviously it should be Jokic or bust, but it's become too conducive of, we're just get on, Jokic back and he's going to take us there. I think they need to find different avenues of how to win in order to beat a team like Golden State. You can't just beat Golden State one way. You need to have multiple ways to beat Golden State. And I feel like this team, thus far from what I've seen, can only win one way. That's just my thoughts on it. Tunde, any last words on that?
I mean, I think this is a Nuggets team that has the ability to make the finals and maybe win a championship. I just think it comes down to, can you get enough stops? And it's hard sometimes, I think, to put together, quality defense when you play Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., so many minutes, especially when you don't have, an elite shot blocker behind them. Even if Nikola Jokic isn't, an awful rim protector, he's not blocking a ton of shots or anything like that.
All right.
So I will ask real quick. So let's say we get like a second round matchup, Nuggets Grizzlies. Who would you guys feel more comfortable in? I mean, rosters might look a little bit different in a couple of months, and depending on how these teams are playing, we might feel differently. But like right now, if they matched up, who would you guys feel better about in a 7-game series?
I'll give the Nuggets. Nod to the Grizzlies. I will give the nod to the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Slightly. I would.
What's the difference? What's the difference in that? Is it Ja, or is there an ability to defend?
I think Ja, in order to win a series like that, will have to be the best version of himself. And I feel like he has the ability to do that. I feel like he's the type that can catapult a team into winning a series like that, especially if it's not in, the Western Conference Finals or anything like that. It's, I think you said the first round.
I think it would probably be the second of those.
I would think it'd be a second round, yeah. So something like that. I think he can catapult a team to, as well as Jokic, but I think the Grizzlies are a slightly more complete team, in my opinion.
So you feel more comfortable with Golden State, Memphis, and the Clippers over Denver?
The Nuggets?
Mm-hmm.
I feel comfortable in Golden State because they've done it before, and they have championship pedigree. I feel comfortable in the Clippers, and they're our next segment, because I feel like they have the most complete team in basketball when healthy. I think from the coach to the last player on our roster, I feel like they have the best complete team. Because I think Ty Lue is, to me, I think he's still the best coach. And you can make argument that Boston coach is, but I mean, I think he's the best.
That's a team that I think you had going to the conference finals before the season, I believe.
Clippers?
Yeah, I think so, right? Is that a team that you still think is able to get to that point?
The quote was, the yay or nay question I was going to ask on the Clippers is if that pair of Kawhi and Paul George, could they ever win a championship together?
Could they? I'll say yes. Will they? I'm going to go no.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
And is it due to, you don't think both of them are going to be in Los Angeles long enough, or you think health plays a factor?
I think health definitely plays a factor. I feel like, I think they were at that point where they probably could have in their first couple years together. In the bubble run, I thought they were one of the best teams to go up against the Lakers. They ended up falling short to the Nuggets, and we never actually saw that series. And then, the year after that, Kawhi got hurt. He went down. Team hasn't really been the same since then. Maybe they can get it back for this playoff run here. So, I think I agree with you. I think they're one of the deepest teams in the league. I trust Ty Lue more than probably any coach in the playoffs. And Kawhi and PG are two, that's one of the best duos in the league. But we just haven't seen it at their highest level in what feels like a couple of years. So it's kind of hard to believe that they'll be able to do it.
All right. Tunde?
Yeah. So, ultimately, health is a huge deal here. We haven't seen Kawhi Leonard really finish a playoff series healthy since 2016.
Wow.
That was a long time ago.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I think while you have the health concerns that you do with that team, it's really tough to say they're going to win a championship, not just because, you're missing availability from your stars. and you need those guys to make it work, but also just because you don't get continuity with the team that way. I mean, one of the issues they had in 2020 was playmaking and it was playmaking and passing, and that's the kind of thing that it could have been better if they had more consistency within the lineup with guys getting they're staying healthy.
Gotcha. All right. Yay or nay, the Utah Jazz will make the playoffs?
I'll say nay.
You say yay?
I said nay.
Nay.
Yeah, I'll say nay. I think they lose in the play-in.
All right, cool. Let's
What
move
about
on to
What about you?
I'm going to say nay.
Nay, you think they make the play-in, or I think they're
They're
ninth
ninth.
place right now.
They're
You
ninth.
think they fall out of that? Does somebody like the Lakers or Portland catch them, or you
I
think
think they can potentially make the play-in and lose and not make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's going to be.
All right. Let's move over to the Eastern Conference. And the Bucks, not the Celtics, are the team to beat in the East. Yeah or nay?
Tunde, what do you think? I think I would go nay. I think I would say nay. I think I would lean Boston.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are better than the Bucks. So I'll say nay.
Okay. Chas?
Yeah, I'll say nay. This is still a Bucks team that I think has the capability to beat the Celtics in the series. But to me, the Celtics have been the best team in the conference to this point, as well as all of last year, beating the Bucks in the playoffs. So I think they have to be the favorite at this point.
All right. Yay or nay, Jaylen Brown is a top 10 player currently.
Nay.
Yeah.
No.
I wish he had top 17.
Top 17?
He's probably in that conversation. I'm gonna have to say no to top 10 though. What do you think?
I think he's closer than people are giving him credit for.
Yeah.
I think he will be still slightly out of that top 10, but I can't ramble off 13 players. I think the name that comes to mind where I kind of stop is Jimmy Butler. And I know I'm kind of going from but I feel like Jimmy Butler, I think he's the next level of Jimmy Butler. Well, I think it's Jimmy Butler than him. I think he's in that kind of category. I think I'm saying Jimmy Butler because I'm feeling okay, I'm thinking of these players in my head, and I'm like, okay, Jimmy Butler. And then after him, I think then it's Jaylen Brown, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hear you. I mean, I feel like I can get to 13.
13, yeah.
I think I could too, yeah.
I definitely think I can get to 13. Yeah. I mean,
Danny, you wouldn't say he's better than somebody like Devin Booker, right?
No.
Okay.
So let's say, okay, then let's LeBron, Luka.
No.
No, I'm gonna name 13. Okay. So we got LeBron, we got Luka,
Steph.
We've got Jokic,
KD,
we've got Embiid, Steph, KD,
6,
Tatum,
7.
We already said Devin Booker. We've got Anthony Davis, who is still better than him.
9.
We got Ja. We
10.
got Brandon Ingram.
Is Dame?
I don't know about.
I don't know
that.
if BI is.
I don't know about Brandon. I don't know about BI.
I think he was last year, but I think it's a hard case to make this year. I would probably.
I think I could. You think it's a hard case to make this year? Yes. I still think Brandon Ingram is better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at 11.
They're probably both right in that range.
Yeah, I think Dame.
Dame is better.
I didn't mention Dame. He's better, right? Yes, he's better. I didn't mention Dame. I didn't mention Bradley Beal.
I don't know if Bradley Beal's
I'm
better.
taking Jaylen Brown over. Yeah.
I'm taking Jaylen Brown over Bradley Beal, man.
Me too.
Bradley Beal is cold as hell, man. I'm taking Bradley Beal.
I'm not saying he's not, but I feel like the way the Browns been playing these last 2 years.
I don't think Bradley Beal is in that 10 to 15 range.
I don't think he is either.
I didn't mention Paul George either.
Yeah.
Didn't mention Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, but
it's
it's like
more than
two of the players that me and Chaz thought we would like substitute him out potentially for him. So like you're at your, 15, 16, but I'm still thinking 13, 14. Like I'm still in that ballpark right there. Because I wouldn't take Bradley Beal over him. I wouldn't take who else did you say the first person, Chaz?
Brandon.
BI.
Yeah.
BI. I wouldn't take BI over him.
But you would take Jimmy Butler. Would you,
I
Tunde?
will take Butler.
I would take Jimmy Butler. I mean, if we're counting up all the guys I just named, we're at like
17. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more than that, right? It's like 19 or something like that. We named a lot of guys, or
I
a
think there's
decent
no
amount of
doubt.
guys.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt that he's in like that 15 to 25 range, though. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely in that range.
Yeah. I mean, he's averaging like, I think 27 or something now. I mean, him and Tatum are like one of the highest scoring duos ever. They're putting up like 60 on a pretty regular basis together.
Yeah. So I think I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Tunde. Like I definitely think you could get to 17, 18 guys, but I also think that some of those are debatable. I
Yeah.
definitely, without a doubt, would take BI over. I mean, I would take Jalen Brown over BI, and I definitely would take Jalen Brown over. I can't forget the second guy that he said.
So would you take Jalen Brown over somebody like Donovan Mitchell?
That was the other guy.
I think I would probably lean Mitchell, but I think those guys are in that same range together.
I think they're interchangeable. I think you can make a case.
Yeah. We didn't mention Zion either.
We
I
didn't.
don't think Zion. I don't think Zion tops 15.
I think I would take him over Jalen Brown.
I mean, I think I would take a
healthy.
healthy Zion
I
over
think I
Jalen
would
Brown
too.
too.
That's tough. That's
It's
tough.
pretty great for Jalen Brown to be in this conversation though. I mean,
Yeah,
not
I
that
know
we
he'll get a lot of love.
yeah, not that we didn't think he could be. I mean, he was a third pick overall, I think, right? So I mean, not that we didn't think that he had the chance to get here, but I mean, to be kind of the second guy on the team behind Tatum for so many years, but to be at this level, I mean, he's getting to another All-Star. I mean, that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has gotten so much, and he's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Since he entered the league, the handle is so much tighter.
Yeah.
The playmaking has gotten better. The handle is so much tighter. I know I said that twice. I feel like it bears repeating. That was the biggest issue in his game, and straightening that out unlocked a whole new world for him. The shooting, the pull-up shooting. He's just basically gotten better at everything except for on-ball defense. Or sorry, everything except for off-ball defense. So,
Gotcha. All right, a couple more of these guys right here. Let's move on to the Bucks. Yay or nay? Giannis will finish his career a top 10 player.
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we putting him? Are we putting him at 10?
I have no idea.
I have no
We
idea.
don't have to go through the names, but like, are you saying?
I mean, let's say he ends up with what, maybe 3 championships.
Mhm.
Let's say he ends up his career with 3 championships and 3 MVPs. I think he's a top 10 player, right?
Okay. Are you putting him that 8, 9 range? Without thinking of the players, like where do you think he's sitting?
I don't know, because then you're starting to talk about putting him over guys like Wilt Chamberlain. Like, I don't know.
Well, do you
gotta,
think he goes down as the best power forward of all time? Do you think he's better? I really feel this one. Yay or nay, he will finish his career better than Tim Duncan. Like that's
high
harder
bar.
than what you think, though. Like
I'll say nay, but that's just because I hold Tim Duncan in really high regard.
Okay.
I'll say, oh man, that's hard because he's not going to finish with 5 championships. We pretty much know that.
Yeah.
He's going to be I think he's going to be a more accomplished player than Tim Duncan besides the rings. And he's going to be more productive, I think, for longer. I mean, you can say some of that is because of, stats inflation and the era that Tim Duncan was playing in. So, I mean, it's going to be a hard conversation, but he's going to be in that conversation.
Gotcha. All right. Yay or nay, Tatum and Brown is the best backcourt in the league.
Is that a backcourt?
I was thinking of that, but they kind of play like a backcourt. Like, I know when we think of backcourt, we think of, Mitchell and Garland, Steph and Clay, but like they're kind of, as far as duos, I should say that. Yay or nay, they're the best duo in the league.
So is the question, are they the best duo in the league?
Best duo in the league.
Okay.
I think they might be this season.
I mean, I think from a skill set perspective, if we're counting duos and saying who is the best duo in the league, I really still think it's LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at, numbers and kind of box score scouting with this, I think you could reasonably say Boston's got the best duo in the league. So,
well, who else?
Numbers, I think they have the most points as a tandem in the NBA. Chaz, go ahead.
Well, who else is in that conversation? Do you guys like Kyrie, KD, Harden, Embiid? Who else is?
Well, we're talking back. Oh, well, no.
Are we talking about duos, right?
Now we're talking about duos.
Yeah, if it's just duos.
KD, Kyrie.
Yeah. How about somebody like from the Western Conference? A lot of these teams have kind of a clear-cut number one, and then.
But are we talking healthy? If we're saying if all of these duos are healthy,
Kawhi, PG.
I think I will take Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah.
As the best duo, healthy. Everybody's healthy. Everything's equal. I think they are the best duo. Because I think healthy Kawhi is a top 3 player.
Oh, you still think he can get?
I think if he's healthy, I mean, we have seen healthy in a long time. If healthy, I think he's better than Jokic. I think he's better than Embiid. I think he's better than. He cleared. To me, he clears them. But
he did. I don't think he does anymore.
He used to,
for sure.
But I don't know. We haven't seen him healthy in a long time, so I really can't say that.
What about what you guys see from him this year when he does play? Like, to me, it's been, even in his good games, you can kind of see like he's not that same player.
No.
He still is a very quality player. He can still put 30, 35 on you. He's going to hit clutch shots. He's going to have the touch. He's still a good defender. He's not a great defender anymore. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like, to me, like, I think if we're talking everybody healthy, I might have to agree with Tune that it's LeBron and AD. But as we know, we can't count on either of those LA teams to be healthy. So I think it's probably a safer bet to go with somebody like Boston or even Philadelphia, who you're getting the same thing every night out of those guys. I mean, Harden is a guy at this point. He's not what he was a few years ago, but he's still playing at a very high level. And I mean, he's feeding off of Embiid, and they're playing well together. So I don't know. It's pretty good. It's pretty good discussion, I would say. I don't know. I'd probably lean with just going with Boston because they've been doing it this year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, I think the fun of this and where you see like the league being in such a good place is the fact that this is such a tough question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. 3 more. Yay or nay? The Cleveland Cavaliers can make it to the NBA Finals. Realistically, they can beat the Bucks. They could beat the Celtics. They could realistically make it to the finals as is.
I'll say nay.
Yeah, I'm going to say nay. I think you asked us that question or maybe something similar just when we last talked, and I think I said yes.
You did. That's why I asked you again.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's just so many teams in front of them. I think they're the 5th team in the Eastern Conference, and
they're 31 and 22.
Yeah, and they're a very good team, but those 4 teams ahead of them, if they beat, I could see them beating one of them maybe in the playoffs, but if they beat 2 of them and got to the finals, I think I'd be pretty surprised.
Okay. The Brooklyn Nets have the best team in the Eastern Conference. Yeah or nay? When healthy.
Oof.
I'll say nay.
Kevin Durant playing, Kyrie playing, when healthy.
I'll say nay.
I'll say yes. Sorry, Chaz, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I want to hear why you think they are.
Oh man.
And Tunde, if I'm not mistaken, when healthy, I think you said this team can go to the finals.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I think it's tough. I mean, I look at KD and the way he's playing when healthy. Um, Kyrie is, Kyrie's doing what he normally does with the ball. Um, but it's the fact that they've got Nick Claxton playing at a really high level, and when Ben Simmons is healthy, I think we've seen some really solid defense from him at times this year. And they've been able to spread the floor. They've got Yuta Watambi, who's leading the league in 3-point percentage, even if it's not on super high volume, and Patty Mills and Seth Curry. It feels like there's just enough of everything here to get where they need to go. I think for a lot of people, the question, becomes more about the. This isn't how I see it, but I think a lot of people are gonna say that the only thing that might be missing would be leadership. So, but from just a pure on court perspective, I think this team has what it needs to get to that level and to get there.
Guys?
I think so too. There are a couple of teams that I would pick in the East above them, but I think they have a chance to. I mean, when they were playing, when obviously before KD went down, they had that 20-game stretch where they were like 19-1 or whatever. They were playing like the best team in the conference. I don't know. It's hard. I think Nick Claxton has been such a key part to that. He's really been playing at an all NBA defense level too. I mean, we've seen him match up with guys like Giannis and Embiid, and he doesn't back down at all, which is exactly what you need in a playoff series. And so, I mean, I give them a chance against anybody in the whole league. But I also think there's probably a handful of teams that could beat them as well.
All right. I'm going to say nay because I think the Bucks are a better team. I think the Bucks, when healthy, clears the Eastern Conference, and that's kind of leading to my next question. I think they're the best team in the East, but that's with a healthy Bucks team. Chris Middleton, I don't think Chris Middleton not playing, in the conference or in the playoffs is going to help them at all. I think they lose again to a Celtics, even a 76ers team, a Nets team without Chris Middleton. That's just my thoughts on it right now. But taking all of these, this whole segment into one bow, I've got you guys' perspective on the East and the Western Conference. And so the last question I have is pertaining to both of the conferences. Yay or nay, the Celtics and the Nuggets or the field?
So are you saying
Celtics, Nuggets, or the field?
Are we
winning
saying
the championship? Oh, are you saying the Celtics or the Nuggets are going to win, or are you taking the field?
Okay,
I'll
gotcha,
take the
gotcha.
field.
Who are you taking, Chaz, then, if you're not taking
boy.
those two?
The field.
Well, I'm saying out of the field, who are you taking?
Oh, if I had to pick one of them, I guess it would be one of my two preseason picks, the Bucks or the Warriors.
Okay.
I think the Nets would be right there too, but all those teams I think can win it all. But if you're gonna say I just got two teams where I get the field, I'll take the field.
Okay. Tunde? Celtics, Nuggets, or are you taking the field?
Oh man, I'll take the field as well.
The field? Who are you taking out of the field?
Whew. I mean, I guess if you're asking me to pick the field,
I'm not asking you to pick the field. You pick the field.
I mean, if there's any one team in the league I trust the most, it's probably the Celtics. But this is just, I think it's wide open. I think if you're making me choose one team, I'll choose the Celtics. But I think if
you're taking the Celtics.
Well, I think if you're letting me choose,
I agree with him. I agree with him.
You agree with?
I think if you're letting me choose the field is like a general concept of.
I'm basically saying, do you have more trust and faith in the Celtics or the Nuggets winning the title over the field, essentially?
I think it's wide open. So I mean, my opinion is that I can see that I think it's more likely that somebody that's not Boston or Denver wins the title. But what I'm saying is, if you were asking me to just pick one team, it would be Boston. It's just
Okay.
that I
Okay, so
still
you
think
can't pick Boston because they're part of the choice. So
yes,
which team other
exactly.
than Boston? Because
So what team in
Boston,
the field do you feel most
what
comfortable?
team in the field do you feel that can win if you're not taking the other option, which is the Celtics or because based on your logic would be yay that the Celtics will win. That they
I mean,
can win.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Tunde.
I was gonna say from a basketball perspective, I guess it would be you know, it would be the Nets, but from considering everything perspective, I think it's got to be the Bucks.
Okay. All right. I actually at this particular time I will take yay. I will take the Celtics over the field. And I can go down why I would take the Celtics right now. But I think right now as of right now, I'm not saying lie detector test who's going to win it right now. I'm saying that as of right now, I think I would take the Celtics over the field. I would take the Celtics or the Nuggets over the field. I
Yeah,
think they're
I would have the Celtics as my favorite right now. I
so
think it's
you would say yay then.
no. I'm gonna take the field.
So you're not taking the field then if you're taking the Celtics.
I
Well,
mean,
no,
he's answering this the same way I would.
yeah,
So
like if you say I got an option, I think it's more likely that the field wins. But if you're saying like who's the favorite right now, any team, then I'm gonna say Boston.
Is the reason why I asked that because they are the favorites.
Yeah,
So it's
and
like, are you
they should
taking the
be.
favorite or are you taking the field?
The field.
Okay, so don't change your answer to the favorite.
no, I don't think he's changing.
The field is like a handful of teams though. So
But realistically though, when we can go through this list and realistically say, okay, who legit has a chance of winning? You
But
know,
when you say, are you taking, are you taking blank or the field? What you're saying is, are you taking blank or are you taking this entire collection of teams?
of
It's not
teams.
just one team. I think we all seem to roughly agree that if we had to pick one team, it'd probably be the Celtics. But
yep.
are you? It might be that you feel that
Yes,
the
stay
most
clear.
likely you feel
Yes.
like the most likely result is the Celtics winning. You might feel like that's 30% likely, but you feel like if it's not the Celtics, then it's 70% everybody else. That's why you would pick the field.
I think it's more like 90% Celtics right now.
Whoa, there's a 90% chance that they win the title.
Oh,
I think
that's a
as
lot.
of right now, I think it's more like 80.
Jeez. I think
I just think they're over. I just think they're overwhelmingly the best team as of right now. And I mean, as of right now, I think I would take them over the field. Them or the Nuggets over the field. The reason why I asked that because they're right now, both of them are slightly clearing their conference. They're both trying to, especially the Celtics are trying to. Well, the Nuggets are actually making more wiggle room than the Celtics are. But I guess they're both trying to expand their lead on the number 2 seed in their conference. So that's why I asked that. I kind of wanted to see, are we really that into the Celtics? Like, do we really think that they are that team, or is it just kind of like last year and what we're seeing right now, spur of the moment type thing? But I'm the guy that I said that I like the Bucks, like healthy, like
Yeah.
but as what I'm seeing right now, they're not whole, they're not complete. So I will take the Celtics beating them again if this is the version of the Bucks we're going to continue to get. With Chris Middleton being in and out of the lineup. So that's why I kind of went that route. All right. Is there any other hot takes, things you guys want to get off your chest in this episode?
Nothing for me.
I did kind of want to just to get a gauge of like contenders. I kind of want to just go down a list. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe the best way to do this is if I just read a couple of teams that I got, and
Contenders or pretenders?
yeah, well, I'll just start reading teams, and if you hear a team that you don't think can win at all, then just interject.
Okay.
You hear that, Tunde?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll start with the Celtics. Then I think we all agree that they're the favorite right now. So obviously, they're a team that we would have in the
Only
contention.
I agree that they're the favorite right now.
No, we.
I'll just play.
Okay.
I'll just
No,
play.
the field.
I get you guys. I
The
get you
field is
guys'
the
point.
favorite. The
I
field
get
is
you
the
guys'
favorite.
point. Yes, I will say yes.
So Boston, Milwaukee,
Yes.
Golden State,
Yes.
Denver,
Yes.
Danny. A team that could win it all.
No.
You know why he's silent.
So let me ask you this. So
No.
Tunde, okay, we'll go. Tunde, we'll keep going for a minute, and Danny, I'll come back to that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Tunde, Nets.
Yes.
Do you want me to answer too, or
Yeah, go ahead.
okay? Yes.
Okay, so for you, flip around Brooklyn ahead of Denver. Denver is out. What about Philadelphia?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Memphis.
No.
I will also say no.
I feel like I'm on a hot seat, Chaz. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Cavaliers.
No.
Thinking about it, Danny.
I say no.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Mhm.
Clippers.
Yes.
Tunde?
I'll say no.
Last team I had written down, Mavericks.
No.
I'll say no as well.
Okay, so Danny, I think for you, you had Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Nets, Clippers, I believe, right?
Yes.
So that's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You said no to the 76ers?
Yes.
Okay. So Danny, you're looking at 5 contenders right now. You feel that's about right at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Based on what have we seen and what I believe, like based on trajectory, I think the season can go. I will say yes.
And then Tunde, you had Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets, Nets. Did you say Philadelphia?
I did.
Grizzlies?
I said no to them.
Okay. And then you said no to Clippers, no to Mavericks, right?
Yes.
So you have 6. Yeah. So Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets, Nets, 76ers. So your window, you have 4 Eastern Conference teams and 2 West. You feel like that's about right?
I hate that I'm going to say this. Throw the Lakers in there too. That makes 7.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Let's go. A team that's in 11th.
Even you don't believe that, Tunde.
A team that's
I
in
mean, the
12th place.
Celtics spent a decent amount of last season in 9th place. So
Ooh, you don't believe that.
Okay, that's a team that I didn't have written down. So I love
See,
that.
you already have it written down, man.
So I have 7 as well, Tunde. But I have Grizzlies instead of the Lakers.
yeah, I think that's reasonable.
So I got 4 in the East, 3 in the West.
I think the West is super wide open. I think you look at the team. I think you're going to look at the teams at the top of the West, and they're very good teams, but you're not looking at those teams and thinking that they're impossible to beat. I think you have to be a little worried about Memphis and the half court scoring, and having somebody to put pressure on the rim, and that's not John Morant, and take the load off there. And I think with Denver, you have to be worried about the perimeter defense. And I mean, I would say just defense in general. Um, and I mean, between those two things, I think you look at these rosters and they're a little vulnerable, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. So, is there any other teams that you guys would think would like actually be in that conversation, like somebody like Miami or New
No.
Orleans, or as
Nope.
well as they've played Sacramento? I mean, they're in a 3 seed, and I even have them written down.
No.
I
I
would,
think
I mean, I would say a healthy New Orleans team goes in that conversation for me. But
Okay.
at some point, it is tough. You got to stay healthy.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, I think we all agree that there's about 5 to 7 true championship contenders. There's probably also about 5 to 7 MVPs, and in the MVP race. So, I mean, these next couple of months are going to be pretty exciting.
we didn't hear your list, Chaz. I know you said you had about 7.
Yeah, I have 7. So I have Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets, Nets, Sixers, Grizzlies.
So you both guys think the Nuggets can win it all.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think I don't know. We might as well just who would you guys have in the finals right now? We all said the Celtics, right? So who would you have coming out of the West right now? It's kind of weird, but I think I would still pick Golden State.
I'll pick Golden State too in the rematch. If I had to pick right now,
Right now, yeah.
yeah.
Oh man,
Same result.
I think
yeah. I
the,
mean,
I think the Celtics would get them this time around.
If you were to ask me that right now, I would say yes.
Yeah.
But if you ask me that a couple months from now,
In
I'm
June,
expecting Golden State to get it together.
yeah.
And if they get it together, Steph
Oh,
Curry is still by far the best player in that series. So I'll go with the ship that I know, the devil that I know.
yeah.
I mean, right now, I guess I would say Celtics Nuggets with the Celtics winning the title.
Spicy.
I like that.
But again, wide open.
Spicy. Okay. Does Tatum winning a title, does that catapult him into I think we all have him in somewhere in that top 5, but does that mark him as obviously he's the best player of 25 and under. I think he's under. Yeah, he's under 25. He's the best player in my opinion. Well, maybe Luka. I think Luka might be slightly better than him. But I think he's either one or two of best players 25 and under. Does that put him in that conversation with Steph, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic? Like, does that put him in that category? I say no still. But what do you guys think?
I think it does because I think he's already playing at the same level as them. So if you get that first championship and kind of get that off your back, I mean, that would be something that Luka and Embiid haven't done, and Jokic. So I don't think there's any reason to say that he wouldn't be in that same level. I mean, he's already playing just as good as any of them.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, I think I agree with a lot of that, Chaz. I think if you were asking me to start a team, I'd probably take Nikola Jokic. And I'd
Out of all the
probably
players right now,
well, no, I'm saying I would probably take Nikola Jokic and Joel
oh,
Embiid in
oh,
front of Jason Tatum. And I mean, I still think Steph is better. Still think I'd rather have LeBron right now.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about pushing 5. This isn't even in an order. I'd rather have Luka, and that's that's 5 right there. So
I'd rather have KD's and I love Tatum, but I think at this point I would still rather have KD.
I think so too.
do we think Giannis? I'm sorry, this is a whole different conversation, different topic. I was gonna say, do we think Giannis is the best? Is he European, right? Yeah, he's European. Do you think
Yeah, he's
Giannis
Greek.
is the best European player ever?
I think he will be.
You think he will be?
Yeah.
I think he will be too, but that remains to be seen. I mean, he's got Dirk Nowitzki. Obviously, is probably who most people would consider the standard for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking to Europe, not international, right?
Yeah. If we're talking Europe.
Okay.
I
So if we're doing that,
I think right now might sound crazy, but I think Luka's better than Dirk right now.
no, we're not talking about all time.
Oh,
No.
okay.
He's a better player.
You think he's a better player, Luka?
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't had near the same career. I think he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Giannis is competing for that title with obviously Dirk being kind of the guy I think most people would say holds it now, but he's also competing with Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic for it.
Yep. I think all three of those guys will probably end up being above guys like Dirk when it's all said and done.
Gotcha.
I mean,
And
to me, those are three guys that are going to finish like top 20 all time.
and Chaz, I think Tunde picked as of right now the Celtics. I got Golden State in that rematch. You think the Celtics take it?
Yeah, if I had to pick right now, like I said, I think Boston's probably been the best team in the league, and I feel pretty comfortable picking them at this point. But so much changes before the playoffs get going, and even once the playoffs start, who knows what we're going to be feeling like in late May, early June. But right now, I would take Boston over Golden State.
All right. Tatum never plays well against Golden State. Just saying. Right.
We'll see. I feel like it might end up being something like Tunde said, where the Nuggets squeak in, or maybe the Bucks get in there instead of the Celtics. Even though I'm picking it to be Boston, Golden State, I kind of got a feeling one of those two won't be there.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. What do we? I didn't ask this a long time ago. What do we think of the name change of the MVP to Jordan? Like, I know it's kind of like, of course, he's probably the GOAT, but what do we think?
Change it to what?
The MVP they're changing it is named after Jordan. What do we think of like them changing that? And obviously they have the first ever Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and whatever the case may be. What do we think of the NBA changing these awards to like some of the greatest players of all time?
None of that stuff moves me at all. So
Okay.
I just don't think it matters.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that the MVP award is going to be there no matter what, even if they have a name, tied to it or not. I mean, it's kind of, something special when the Finals MVP is, the Bill Russell now, especially now that he's passed. But I think that's been pretty cool for them, players that have won the last several years, and he's been the one to hand it out. But as far as inventing, the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with Tune. It doesn't really.
I think the biggest one for me is the logo.
You want to
I
change?
don't believe Jerry West should be the logo. I'm sorry.
Should it be LeBron?
I think it should be Jordan or Kobe.
Yeah.
I think it should be Jordan if we're talking about who the GOAT. Like, I think it should be Jordan.
What, like a fall away jumper? Because it can't be the Jordan
I
logo.
think it's the one the jumper. I think it's the pose. I mean, he did in Utah. Like, I think it's something like that.
That wouldn't be bad.
The hand up.
Something like that. But I do think it should be.
Yeah.
I do think it should be Jordan.
I would kind of like it to be Kobe. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have all these topics in my head now. One more. I got one more.
Yeah.
How many? Now this might be. I mean, I think it's a legit question. How many statues will LeBron James have? Will he have a statue in L.A., Cleveland, and like how many? I mean, how many?
It's weird. It's weird because the Lakers fans don't really embrace him as like an all-time Laker.
Yeah. Do you think getting the record? Do you think that and winning a title? Do you think that deserve the statue, or you think he needs to do more?
I'm assuming that within a Lakers uniform, it'll require a few more. It'll require at least one more title. The statue is already being worked on in Cleveland as we speak.
Yeah.
And
I think that was a no-brainer.
Now Miami is kind of the question then.
I think so too.
Does he get a statue outside?
I don't know.
He's
two
one
titles
of the
and
best
3
players.
chips.
Yeah, he's one of the best players in franchise history, but he was only there for 4 years.
I mean, for what it's worth, think a decent amount of Heat fans didn't like the fact that he left. I think that No one. I think that people just didn't care about their pain. But
I didn't think it's unsaid that I think everybody know unquestioned like LeBron James is the greatest player to ever play in Miami, but obviously that's going to go to Dwayne Wade because he's been there forever. Wade
yeah, I mean
County,
they call it Miami Wade County.
Wade County, like so. But obviously the best player in their history has been LeBron. He was there 4 years, but we don't want to discuss that, but
Does D Wade have a statue out there?
he will, I would
Yeah, for
assume.
sure.
They
Yeah,
usually take these statues are built 5-10 years after they
yeah,
retire or whatever.
because
There
I
has
think
to be-
Shaq just got his at the Lakers
Yeah,
like
like
last
Kobe
year.
doesn't even have his yet. Like
Yeah, they got to
I
get
think
work.
he might have two. He might have 24 and 8 that they
That'd
were
be cool.
talking about. But I don't know.
So
I think this go ahead.
will LeBron's jersey get retired by the Lakers then? I think so. Especially
I can see
if they
that
break
happening.
the
Yeah.
record.
We could see the jersey happen without well, yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though he wore 23 and 6 though, so I don't know what they're
I think
retiring.
one gets retired. I don't think both.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
think
right.
the jersey he won a title with 23.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
right.
We'll see what happens if he gets one with 23 and one with 6. I could see them, based on the
Probably
body
doing
of
both.
work, what it looks like retiring both.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But we don't think he gets a statue on LA. We think it requires another title.
Yeah, which I don't
I
think.
mean, I think a statue might require 2 more titles. A jersey requirement might just be 1.
Okay. All right. And that's our off-topic segments, y'all. Like, we just went on a tangent or some shit. All right. Anything else?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, nothing else from me.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Spoken True podcast. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to us on YouTube. You can find me at Danny Murphy Jr. 1 on Twitter.
You can follow me at Chaz_post23.
And you can follow me at KingTunde25. This is a side note. Let me just ruin the intro real quick. Are y'all seeing this meme on Twitter about the NFL being like scripted?
It's so
Bro.
funny.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think we're going to meet again before Super Bowl. Who's winning this thing? Who's
The
winning
Philadelphia
this thing?
Eagles have the best roster in the NFL. So
You said the Eagles?
look forward to Philly burning themselves down in celebration instead of in anguish. I mean, I don't say that as a criticism to Philly either. If the Lions ever win the Super Bowl, I'm right on John R. Street with it, with everybody else. So
it's hard for me to bet against Pat Mahomes, but I think the Eagles have, Tony said, they have the most complete team in the NFL. Obviously, I would say the only position that they don't have that's better is the quarterback position. But I think their offensive line, I think I will favor slightly Philly. Defense, I will favor Philly. Wide receivers, I will favor Philly. Like we go down the line, I will favor Philly. The only thing that's really close is that offensive line, and I will get a slight edge to Philly. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do incredible things going back to last week, beating the Bengals. I had the Bengals winning that game, and Bengals couldn't get it done. And they had time to do it, but couldn't get it done. I don't know. I don't have no fight, and I don't have no pick in the game. I want to see a good game, but I do think the Eagles are going to take it. 30-27.
Oh, you got a close game then at least.
Got a close game.
I like that. That's pretty much what I'm rooting for. I'm going with the Eagles too. I think they probably squeak one out, but I don't know. It's so hard to bet against that Chiefs team. It feels like they just always come through in the end. No, I don't know. Like I just think with the offensive line and the defense for Philly, I think they're just going to be a little bit better. I think they win. I'll say 28-23.
Yeah, the lower scoring game.
Yeah.
I think the problem that I have is that, and I picked the close game. I think the problem that I have is the closer the game is, the more I favor Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's where it can be tricky. I don't expect Philly to go up and down the field like they did last week. But I also don't expect Patrick Mahomes to not be able to do Patrick Mahomes things. It's really close because of who that guy is. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a close game, like I'm leaning, my heart tends to lean more towards, the Chiefs if it's
Yeah.
close. But because I'm looking at these two rosters, I'm looking at the totality of the game. I'm looking at both of these teams. I'm saying the Eagles are just a more complete team. They
Yeah.
run the ball better. They have that pass option with Jalen Hurts. Now Jalen Hurts, he's not going to throw for 300, 400 yards in the Super Bowl, but he's gonna throw for what, 175, run for another 100, and that's going to be just as effective. I think Patrick Mahomes has to sling the football. And we've seen him last week. He lost Juju. He lost some of his weapons, wide receivers. He still got his anchor in Kelsey. Um, I don't know if that's enough. But I also didn't think it was going to be enough to beat, the Bengals. And I think Chase, who is, if not one of, I think he is the best wide receiver in football. Jefferson, and then you can make an argument for Adams. They're all great. But I didn't think it was going to be enough to beat them, and he beat them. So, and I think as far as complete teams, I know their offensive line, the Bengals, were atrocious last year, but they improved so much. Defense is, decent. So they were right there as one of the complete teams, and Patrick Mahomes dismantled them. I mean, it still was a good game, close game, but he just took them apart at the end.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it seems like whenever KC needs to score, I mean they
They
got
yeah.
Mahomes, they got Kelsey connection. And
No matter how much time is left, that's what's so scary.
yeah.
8 seconds, he's gonna get you in field goal range. I've never seen that, like, ever. Like 13 seconds, like.
Yeah, I that was unbelievable last year. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought the game was over. I think it was Gabe Davis, right, that caught the touchdown for the Bills. I was like, wow, that's a huge win for the Bills. 13 seconds left and they go down and
Yeah.
score. I mean, I've never seen something like that. I think they got in field goal range in like 2 plays, right?
Yeah, 2 plays.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's crazy.
they're down late against Philly, but they have the ball. I mean, it'd be hard not to feel like Mahomes would be able to pull it off somewhere.
Yeah, Tunde.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Eagles 31-20.
31-20. Oh,
21-20.
31-20. I think they win the battle enough up front, run the ball well enough. I expect Jalen Hurts' legs to, really be used. I expect that they're going to really try to press, the advantage with the quarterback run game and trying to even back out the numbers.
you think they gonna hold Patrick Mahomes to only 2 touchdowns?
I mean, maybe it's 2 touchdowns, maybe it's 3 touchdowns and they miss a field and they miss an extra point. Who's to say? I look at this and I just see the issues with injuries the Chiefs have at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's gonna be a problem from a depth perspective. Going up against this Eagles secondary that's really good, just kind of really good across the board. I think
You
there's
think with
going
the
to
extra help, the extra rest, that it's not going to be. You don't think that's going to help with the injuries?
It might help. It seems like whatever injury Kadarius Toney suffered was fairly significant. And same with Mecole Hardman. And if they're not able to go, it's you're turning to guys like Sky Moore, who might not be there yet or kind of ready for that yet. You're turning to guys like Sky Moore and Mark and MVS to pick up the slack. I feel like we've seen over the course of his career that it's MVS isn't really somebody who can necessarily just absorb a bunch of targets. Some of the issues with route running and change of direction aren't quite what you like it to be with him, and then hands obviously are an issue. So I mean, if he's hurt, it's gonna be hard to not see, on crucial downs. It's gonna be hard not to expect Travis Kelce to get, the defense tilted towards him. I'm curious as to what that looks like. Andy Reid's a phenomenal offensive mind. So in those situations, he does things like move, you know, Travis Kelce around to make it a little easier to get him the ball and use that yak ability that he has. But I just think the Eagles are better across the board.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't tend to disagree because I picked them, but I can't deny what he did last week. I thought Joe Burr and the Bengals were that team. I call him Joe Burr, by the way. Yeah, I like Joe Burr. I wasn't even a fan of him at college, but when I saw him, like the swagger he got, and when he came to the pros, and
He's the real deal.
yeah, he's the next. They're going to have some battles over the next decade. Josh Allen.
I know people were kind of
Terrible.
he might be the odd man out in that
Yeah.
conference. No.
It was obviously Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I think Joe Burrow passed him. I'm being honest. Like I think he's right there as far as second best quarterback in the league, and by far Patrick Mahomes is the first. I know it's discussion about Joe Burrow being better than Patrick Mahomes, and I think he shut a lot of people up this past week. So
I mean, I think on some level, I think the top five is so Patrick Mahomes is number one, and there's like a gap, right?
yes,
But I mean, 2 through 5 is some order to me of Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert. And then you can kind of figure that out as you wish. I'd honestly probably have Justin Herbert at 2. I would probably have Justin Herbert and Lamar as like 2A and 2B, and then Josh Allen and then Joe Burrow. But there's like hairs splitting. It's like splitting hairs between all 4 of those guys.
Yeah, because I'll put Joe Burrow over all of them.
I think I would too.
I would put him over Herbert.
At second. Yeah, I think
Jackson.
he's
I'll
number 2.
put him second. I don't know. Like, do we think Wilson gets back in that conversation?
Russell Wilson? No.
Russell Wilson? No.
Yeah,
no,
you think resurrect his career?
No, that shit over with.
I think Sean Payton will make him better than they were last year, but no, he's not going to ever be back to being like a top tier quarterback.
I don't think he's like. I mean, like this year he was largely like trash, and I don't think he's trash. So like, I mean, I see better for the future, but I mean, yeah, the days of him being in like a top 5 quarterback, I think are over and out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Last question. I know we were talking about. I wanted to talk about Trevor Lawrence. I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't know why, but
Me too. Yeah.
I think he has an incredible upside. But
yeah.
I don't. Is it just me? I think the Chargers are one of the most talented teams in the league. But I don't believe in their quarterback. Like, I feel like he doesn't get it done in big moments. In
Oh, brother!
I'm just saying. Like,
I don't think it's his fault.
You said what?
I don't think that's all on him though.
I don't think it's all on him. I don't think he has a big arm.
He's super talented.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Chargers are a fucking talented team, and he can't get it. I mean, I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
I thought they were.
It's the way that they got walked down by the Jaguars for me.
They needed to at least win one playoff game. And, I mean, to lose what they were up 27-0, right?
They were up 27-0, and they got walked down.
I mean, you can't lose that game.
Step by step, they walked their ass down.
Yeah.
Throw for throw.
Yeah.
I said, this is really going to happen? It should happen. So I'm like, oh, my goodness. What a fucking choke job. Like,
man,
you're giving me fucking LeBron versus the Mavs vibes. Like, you're giving me step up 3-1. You're giving me Tragic Johnson vibes. Like, come on, like whatever. I still think LeBron had the biggest choke job in NBA history. against those Mavs. They were so overwhelmingly the
Oh, no.
favorite. Like,
At least they weren't up
so
3-1 though.
overwhelmingly the favorite. Like, for you to disappear in 3 straight fourth quarters, like, he made up for it though. Following year,
For sure.
he made up for it. All right, guys. I just wanted to piss Tunde off for a second.
I'm chilling. So
All right.